Chapter 82. The sun shone down on the world. As it approached noon, more and more people gathered around the martial arts field. Yi Qinghan saw that Tang Chu had directly rejected his challenge, and the killing intent in his eyes disappeared. He turned to the Qin Emperor and said in a hoarse voice, "Prove yourself. Remember, this is a fight to the death. Don't be sad, because even if you die, no one will pity you." "Yes, master, I won't embarrass you." The Qin Emperor nodded gravely and came to the side of Yi Qinghan, using his body to block the view of the crowd. A terrifying energy burst out from his palm, and the Guqin in his bosom returned to the ring of cosmos. The Guqin in his bosom, however, returned to the ring of universe. All of this happened silently. Even Lu Ning only felt a terrifying energy fluctuation, and then it disappeared without a trace. Yi Qinghan patted the Qin Emperor and left the martial arts field with Zhao Wuji. The Qin Emperor was still the Qin Emperor, still holding the zither, still at the peak of the blood ignition realm. There was no change. Xiao Yu and the others sneered. More than 10 1-star, 2-star and even 3-star bitter sea experts could not deal with a 13-year-old child. They should just cut their own throats and commit suicide. "Little bastard, today I will teach you how to behave." Xiao Yu sneered cruelly, the malevolence and killing intent in her eyes was not concealed at all. It was as if she regarded Tang Chu as an omnipotent backer, but she did not know that she had been abandoned. Today, regardless of winning or losing, she would die. The Qin Emperor did not refute. He lowered his head and smiled. That touch of gentleness was like the shyness of a snow lotus flower at the peak of a mountain. He was more handsome than a man, more beautiful than a woman. He held the ancient immortal zither and slowly retreated. His 5 fingers played the zither, and the sound of nature suddenly sounded. The sound of the zither attracted hundreds of birds. The world was deathly silent, and all living things listened. They were unwilling to interrupt the beautiful sound of the zither, and even more unwilling to disturb the person playing the zither. As the sound of the zither rose, the Qin Emperor's 10 fingers left the zither. The zither unexpectedly hovered in front of the Qin Emperor without any support, as if it was attracted by the Qin Emperor's hand. Everyone was stunned. One. The 10 fingers plucked the 9 strings at the same time. The melody became more and more urgent, controlling the qi, blood and true yuan of the experts, sometimes suppressed, sometimes boiling. Zing zing zing. The experts on the periphery retreated, their faces changed. They tried their best to control their qi, returning their true yuan, suppressing the restlessness of their qi and blood. Fortunately, this was only the aftermath, and the Qin Emperor did not target them. Instead, it was the sound of the Qin Emperor's zither that affected them. If the Qin Emperor had mobilized his Jin Yuan to actively control it, they would not have been able to regain control of the Jin Yuan so easily. I saw a fairyland. Those at the bitter sea stage with slightly weaker Dao hearts were directly lost. It was as if they had stepped into an immortal realm. All around them was a paradise. 4th-grade spirit herbs and even 5th-grade battle weapons could be found everywhere. There was an abundance of spiritual energy. The willows swayed, the surface of the lake swayed, hundreds of flowers bloomed, the flowers flew and the butterflies danced. Some existences with firm Dao hearts retreated continuously. They stared at the Qin Emperor with pale faces. They knew it was an illusion, but they didn't want to break it. Xiao Yu and the others in the center of the martial arts practice field were the first to bear the brunt. Before they could attack, they were instantly bewitched, and their eyes were full of greed. Ha, I'm rich. So many treasures. Precious spirit pills, 5th-grade secret technique. With these, what use do I have for Tang Chu? These treasures are all mine. Lu Ning looked at the Qin Emperor's hair fluttering in the wind, his eyes emitting light. The sound of the zither turned into a unique melody, as if a fairy had descended, holy and inviolable. Lu Ning could not help but gasp. She said to herself, is it a special constitution? How many years has it been since a special constitution appeared? What constitution does he have? Tang Chu saw that Xiao Yu was bewitched, and the greed in his eyes was disgusting. He could not help but clench his fists, groan, and withdraw his killing intent. No one knew what Xiao Yu and the others saw, but they saw hundreds of birds flying in the sky, butterflies dancing, the blue sky and white clouds suddenly changing, causing a terrifying phenomenon. Red clouds hung in the sky, turning into golden dragons and phoenixes that surrounded the Qin Emperor. The sound of the zither was melodious, and the scene changed again. Maple leaves fluttered in the sky, covering the sky. The whole world became red, dark and gloomy. It evoked the inner demons of Xiao Yu. Qin Emperor. You bitch, I let you drink because you are blind, and I let you kneel because I am giving you face. How dare you hit me? See if I don't kill you today. Xiao Yu roared. The image of the Qin Emperor weakly lying in the rain appeared in front of her eyes, looking pitiful, which made her even more ferocious. Everyone suddenly showed a strange expression. Tang Chu was even more furious. She couldn't wait to slap this bitch into the 100,000 mountains. Yi Qinhan smiled indifferently. He could not tell that although the Qin Emperor was simple, he was not stupid. He knew to evoke the inner demons of Xiao Yu and the others, and to reveal the truth first. Even if he killed these people now, the families behind them would not have the face to blame him. The Qin Emperor's face darkened. The strange melody controlled the sea of consciousness of many female cultivators, causing them to hallucinate. Go die. If I kill you, I can get everything I want. Xiao Yu raised her sword and stabbed at a person beside her. Puchi. Ah. Kill. More than 10 female cultivators of the Bitter Sea stage lost control at the same time, and began to kill each other. They raised their swords and hacked. In an instant, several people fell into a pool of blood. Everyone's expression was incomparably ferocious, wishing they could chop the person in front of them into meat paste. Everyone's hair stood on end. If the Qin Emperor's cultivation level was higher, facing an army of tens of thousands, it would be like an eagle catching chickens. No matter how many there were, they would be killed. In an instant, of the 13 female cultivators, 7 had fallen to the ground. Xiao Yu took the lead, charging straight through their group. Her killing intent was aroused, and she killed several people in a row. Her body was bathed in a river of blood, so cruel that it made people's hair stand up. Die. Stupid blind. Xiao Yu's swordsmanship was swift and fierce. After receiving the guidance of Tang Chu, it was far better than the others. No one was a match for her, and she killed the most. The people of the Tang Chu camp watched Xiao Yu slaughter their own women, their faces ashen, but they could not blame her. After all, they were killing each other. The sound of the zither changed again. The remaining 5 female cultivators all charged at Xiao Yu, as if treating Xiao Yu as the Qin Emperor. Go to hell, bitch. The 5 people besieged Xiao Yu from different directions, causing her a lot of damage in an instant. One of them stabbed Xiao Yu's thigh with his sword. With a fierce slash, her clothes were cut open, revealing her bloody thigh. You are courting death. How dare you hurt me? I will torture you to death. Xiao Yu was furious. She stabbed down with her sword, directly piercing the opponent's back and suppressing him. However, there were still 4 people who seized the opportunity and stabbed at Xiao Yu's body at the same time. Xiao Yu's legs were held by the dead teammate, so she could not move. She could only pull out her sword and sweep it across. The sword chi swept across and killed the 2 companions in front of her, but the 2 behind her stabbed her back at the same time. Ah! Xiao Yu screamed. She staggered and fell to the ground. Blood flowed like a stream. She desperately kicked the dead person who was holding her legs. At this moment, they could not use any martial techniques or secret techniques. They were fighting in a completely barbaric way. Xiao Yu used her strength to kick the dead body away. She looked at the remaining two people with a ferocious face, as if she had seen the enemy who killed her father. Everyone was terrified. They looked at the Qin Emperor again. The speed at which his hands plucked the strings began to slow down. His face was pale. The melody began to become chaotic. The control of the sound of the zither was greatly weakened. Give up the control and recover your Jin Yuan quickly. Use the absorbing roar and try to kill him in one blow. Yi Qinghan reminded him with a deep voice. Hearing that, the Qin Emperor decisively gave up playing the zither. He took out a good pill of recovery from his universe ring and swallowed it. The spiritual energy spread to his limbs and bones, turning into Jin Yuan and gathering in his sea of qi. As the sound of the zither stopped, Xiao Yu and the others woke up instantly. They turned around and found that only 3 of them could still stand up, and they were all seriously injured. Looking at the Qin Emperor, they found that not even a strand of his hair was harmed. They could not help but be frightened and furious. This is impossible. I killed him. Xiao Yu did not come back to her senses for a moment. She could not help but roar hysterically. Xiao Yu, you are so vicious. You killed me. A girl lying in a pool of blood was struggling. She pointed at Xiao Yu and shouted angrily. Before she could finish her sentence, she fell to the ground and died on the spot. I didn't kill you. You were not killed by me. Xiao Yu was frightened. She knelt down on one knee, looking embarrassed. Looking at the 10 people lying on the ground and then at the Qin Emperor, she seemed to have understood something. The remaining 3 looked at the Qin Emperor with resentment. They struggled to stand up and threw themselves at the Qin Emperor. Qin Emperor! You bastard! You evil man! You use such a vicious method to control us. I will kill you. Xiao Yu was furious. She thrust her sword at the Qin Emperor's throat like a rainbow. Everyone felt it was a pity. The Qin Emperor was exhausted and his body was weak. He was no match for Xiao Yu and the others, even though the 3 of them were all seriously injured. Yi Qinghan clenched his iron fists, ready to strike at any moment. Lu Ning held the silver divine whip tightly and stared at the center of the battlefield. She loved the Qin Emperor and would not allow anyone to kill him. Xiao Yu and the other 2 were extremely fast. The distance of 20 meters was shortened by half. They were about to kill the Qin Emperor. The Qin Emperor's face was gloomy. He was sweating profusely. He tried to control his Jin Yuan, but he was still unable to perform the Guqin Dao attack that contained the soul-absorbing roar. Huff! 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 Everyone on the martial arts field was breathing faster. The Qin Emperor kept retreating. He was still young and panicked. Die! Xiao Yu and the other 2 rushed to the front of the Qin Emperor and thrust their swords. They were determined to kill him. You little bitches! How dare you sneak attack your Lord Divine Bird? Die! The parrot's hair was messy as if it had been roasted by fire. Apparently, it was hit by Tang Chu's arrow. At the moment, it was infuriated. It dashed in the void and turned into a flash of lightning, pouncing at Xiao Yu and the other 2. Hua! A huge fire engulfed Xiao Yu and the other 2, almost wrapping the Qin Emperor in it. The fire spouted by the parrot seemed to be of a higher level than ordinary fire. Once touched, it would ignite. The clothes on Xiao Yu and the others were burned away instantly. Even their hair was gone. Their whole bodies were engulfed by the fire and started burning. Ah! Ah! The 3 of them screamed. They even lost their swords. They waved their hands and feet in joy. Their mournful screams pierced everyone's eardrums. However, it seemed that not many people sympathized with them. The parrot glared at Tang Chu and the others and shouted, which bitch shot me with an arrow just now? Get out here for this divine bird. Yi Qinghan let out a mouthful of turbid air. He couldn't help but grin when he saw the parrot in such a sorry state and flew into a rage. Ling Chen and the others also let out a mouthful of air. They were speechless. This bitch bird always appeared at the most crucial moment. Tang Chu was speechless. He looked at the parrot angrily. He wished he could take out the iron crossbow and shoot it again. Chapter 83. The parrot glared at Tang Chu. Its pure white feathers had turned black, as if it had been roasted by fire. Some of its feathers were missing. It was obvious that it had been torn off by a weapon. Bastard, I remember it was you. Am I right? You bitch, how dare you sneak attack me? Come, come, let's fight. The parrot roared. Ha 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 ha, Ling Chen, who had always been cold and silent, laughed unabashedly. This parrot was too cute. It was so human-like. After being insulted, it still wanted to get back at him. Tang Chu's face was livid. However, he did sneak attack the parrot. He was in the wrong. More importantly, Yi Qinghan was behind the parrot. Once he fought with the parrot, he was not sure if he could catch up with it. If Yi Qinghan made a move, he was not confident that he could win. However, the parrot was unforgiving. It was shouting in the middle of the training field, pointing at his nose and scolding him. No one could stand it, let alone him, the son of the governor of the state capital of Qing, the pride of the generation. Are you sure you want to fight with me? Tang Chu summoned his iron bow and stepped into the training field. He released a strong aura and asked coldly. The parrot's breath stagnated. It pretended that it did not hear Tang Chu's words and looked up at Xiao Yu and the other two who were running wildly. You three bitches, it must be you who shot me with arrows. I will burn you to death. The parrot turned around and pounced on Xiao Yu and the others. It burned the training field and the surrounding temperature was rising. Ah! Brother Tang, save me! Xiao Yu and the others screamed and twitched. No matter how they scratched, they could not put out the flames on their bodies. The smell of burnt flesh was dispersed by the wind. It was disgusting. The parrot chased after them and spat fire. Xiao Yu and the others soon collapsed on the ground. Their voices became hoarse. They were on the verge of death and were burned out of shape. Damn it, how dare you shoot me with arrows? This is a warning to you. If you dare to do it again, I will burn you to death. The parrot was arrogant. It left Xiao Yu and the others who were still burning and turned around to leave. It did not know that the three of them had been burned alive. Tang Chu, everyone, what brand of parrot was that? It could actually breathe fire. Most importantly, she was smarter than most people. She was also so shameless. She was lying through her teeth. She didn't even know how to blush. Zhao Wuji was speechless. He looked at Yi Qinghan and asked, Brother Yi, where did you get this bird? I picked it up. Yi Qinghan did not want to talk about this parrot anymore. It was too embarrassing. Tang Chu had already admitted that she had attacked it, but it had pretended not to see it. It had picked on the weak ones and had burned them to death. It had even said a bunch of nonsense. When Tang Chu saw that the parrot had taken the initiative to change the topic, he quickly retreated. For the time being, he didn't want to provoke Yi Qinghan, this weirdo. His cultivation was terrifying, his disciples were terrifying, and even his pet bird was so weird. Yi Qinghan glanced at Tang Chu. He knew that Tang Chu would definitely not fight him head-on. If he continued to provoke him, he would be at a disadvantage. Therefore, he was prepared to settle this matter. After all, Xiao Yu and the others had already received the punishment they deserved, death. The truth has been revealed. Do you still want to continue? Yi Qinghan asked coldly. Brother Yi, this matter was Xiao Yu and the others' fault. I was deceived. I am willing to apologize and compensate Qin Shi Huang with 500 mid-grade spirit crystals as a token of my apology. Tang Chu knew how to conduct himself. He had promised to give Yi Qinghan 1,000 mid-grade spirit crystals. However, Yi Qinghan's Qi Si had already been destroyed. This 1,000 mid-grade spirit crystals was equivalent to a victory. Giving away 500 mid-grade spirit crystals to appease Yi Qinghan was not a big deal. Yi Qinghan smiled coldly. It would be stupid not to take the meat that was sent to his mouth. 500 mid-grade spirit crystals was not a small amount. Then what about the matter of you attacking my spirit pet? It didn't dare to look for you. If I don't say something, how can I face it? Yi Qinghan asked lightly. When the parrot saw that Yi Qinghan had taken the initiative to seek justice for it, it was so grateful that it wanted to offer up all its treasures. Master, you have really moved me. I will not let you down in the future. The parrot jumped and flew to Yi Qinghan's shoulder. Its face was full of sincerity, but only it knew how sincere it was. Tang Chu's mouth twitched and his fingertips trembled. He looked at the embarrassed parrot on Yi Qinghan's shoulder. A strange look flashed in his eyes, but it quickly disappeared. It was my fault. I just wanted to save a genius. After all, Xian Wuyu is a genius of the Owlfall Star. I hope Brother Yi can forgive me. I will give you another 500 mid-grade spirit crystals to compensate your spirit pet. Tang Chu was very reluctant. He took out 1,000 mid-grade spirit crystals from his Qiankuan ring and placed them neatly on the martial arts field, forming a small spirit mountain. When the parrot saw this, it rushed over without hesitation. The Qiankuan ring on its little paw flashed and took away Qin Shi Huang's 500 mid-grade spirit crystals. He, Qin Shi Huang, you are still young. I will keep it for you. When you grow up, I will give it to you. The parrot said shamelessly. Qin Shi Huang was speechless. Tang Chu looked at the parrot with great pain. He looked at the parrot and then cupped his fists to Yi Qinghan and said, I am Tang Chu of Qingzhou. If Brother Yi comes to Qingzhou in the future and meets any trouble, you can mention my name. No one will dare to offend you. I have something to do today. Goodbye. Tang Chu did not give Yi Qinghan a chance to speak. He turned around and left with his henchmen. He was afraid that he would be extorted for another few hundred mid-grade spirit crystals. Ing Feng's eyes flashed when he saw the end of the battle. He quietly left. Even Yi Qinghan did not notice how he left. Lu Ning, Ling Chen, Wang Shizhi, and the others stared at Yi Qinghan's back. Each of them had their own thoughts. At this moment, it was already afternoon. The setting sun sprinkled its golden rays onto everyone's faces. Many people were dissatisfied that they didn't get to see the battle between Yi Qinghan and Tang Chu. However, after some noise, the crowd dispersed. Fuck, that was awesome. Today, I saw a miracle. One star of the Bitter Sea Realm, sweeping through the Bitter Sea Realm, yet no one was his match. If I had such ability, how could I not be king? Yes, it made my blood boil. Only now did I remember that I have not eaten breakfast. Let's go home and eat. Then, I will cultivate hard. Maybe one day I can reach this level. Goo goo goo, when they talked about eating, many people remembered that most of them had not eaten. They stared blankly for half a day. Qin Shi Huang rubbed his stomach and smiled bitterly, Master, I am also hungry. Let's go home. Yes, let's go back. Yi Qinghan nodded and was about to leave with Qin Shi Huang. Brother Yi, Outyan apologizes to you and Qin Shi Huang for today's matter. I will send someone to compensate you in the afternoon. I hope you can accept it. Lu Outyan cupped his fists and said. No need, this is not your fault. Moreover, the hatred is gone. There is no point in pursuing it. Brother Lu, go and do your things. Let's part here. See you at the auction tomorrow. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. All right, I will not disturb you. I still have other things to do. Goodbye. Lu Outyan nodded and said. Zhao Wuji looked at Yi Qinghan and asked in a low voice, Brother Yi, do you have time to discuss the martial path of the bitter sea with me? Let's go together. Thank you for today. Yi Qinghan knew how to repay kindness. Zhao Wuji had helped him without hesitation today. It would not be right if he did not help him. Yi Qinghan and Zhao Wuji brought Qin Shi Huang to Huafei's courtyard. Lu Ning stared at Yi Qinghan's back and subconsciously followed. The central hall of the Lingbao Hall was dazzling and luxurious. Everywhere was filled with an extravagant aura. One could see the splendor of the Lingbao Hall. At this moment, other than Qin Haran who was kneeling on the ground, there was only Qi Ning who had a solemn expression. There was no one else in the surroundings. Even the guards had left the courtyard and were guarding outside. Trash. Dealing with Qin Shi Huang in front of everyone. Where is your brain? You are so stubborn. For some petty thoughts, you suppressed your opponents. How can I be at ease to hand over the Qin clan and the rank 4 Lingbao Hall to you? Qi Ning was resentful that Qin Haran did not live up to his expectations as he angrily scolded. Qin Haran's eyes were filled with haze as killing intent flashed past. He said with dissatisfaction, Great-grandfather, most of the Qin clan's assets are in Qin Shi Huang's hands. No matter what, it is impossible for me to obtain the Qin clan. I dealt with him because I did not want the Qin clan to be destroyed in the hands of that blind man. Pa! Bastard! In the end, Qin Shi Huang is. Qi Ning fiercely slapped Qin Haran. The crisp sound echoed in the hall. Seeing Qin Haran's dissatisfaction and doubt, he could not help but feel sad. What do you know? If I did not purposely announce that most of the Qin clan's assets would be inherited by Qin Shi Huang, would you be able to live until now? Don't you know that the Qin clan is fighting and scheming against each other? Now you want to kill Qin Shi Huang. If you were the successor, wouldn't the other members of the Qin clan want to kill you as well? Qi Ning coldly scolded. Qin Haran was startled for a moment. Then, he pressed Qi Ning down with pleasant surprise. His whole body was trembling with excitement. Great-grandfather, you mean? Qin Haran wanted to ask with uncertainty, but he was afraid that the answer he would get would be different from what he had guessed. In the end, he did not dare to ask. That's right. Qin Shi Huang is only the successor on the surface. He helped you attract the attention of the Qin clan and even the people who coveted the Qin clan's assets. You are the eldest son of the Qin clan and also a genius. In order to let you go out alone to gain experience and grow quickly so that you can be independent in the future, I announced that Qin Shi Huang is the successor and treated him like a treasure to attract people's attention. However, your performance really disappointed me. Qi Ning angrily scolded. Qin Haran was surprised and happy. He did not expect that Qin Shi Huang was only a scapegoat. Why was he jealous of him? Great-grandfather, I was wrong. I was confused for a moment and was blinded by appearances. Please give me another chance. Qin Haran prostrated himself on the ground and forgot that Qi Ning had slapped him. Today, come with me to apologize to Qin Shi Huang and Yi Qinghan. Qi Ning's face darkened as he coldly said. Why? Qin Shi Huang is only blind. What can Yi Qinghan do? He only relied on his speed. Great-grandfather, why do you care so much about them? Qin Haran was unwilling. Asking him to apologize to Qin Shi Huang was worse than killing him. I don't care about Qin Shi Huang. Even if he has the so-called Zither immortal scarlet demon body, he won't be able to do anything. However, Yi Qinghan is different. Qi Ning shook his head and said helplessly. Chapter 84. The meeting of heroes had shocked so many people and shook the hearts of so many heroes. In the evening, the setting sun dyed half of the sky red in flaming Cloud City. Maple leaves were falling, flowers were flying and butterflies were dancing in the sky. Zhao Wuji and Yi Qinghan talked for an entire afternoon. Zhao Wuji's face was rosy as he learned a lot. He cupped his fists and left respectfully. No one knew that this discussion made Zhao Wuji disappear for more than 10 years. When he reappeared, he had completely changed. After this battle, Yi Qinghan also knew his own flaws and had a deep understanding. In front of the experts, Zhong Yu could not use all of his skills. He could not use the extreme Dao Divine Dragon Steps, the heavy Berserk Saber, the Azure Dragon Art, and all of the powerful martial skills in the Divine Martial Emperor Code. Before reaching the Dao Sovereign Realm, the Xiaolong region's great revered martial emperor was his limit. It seems that I have to create my own rank 5 martial technique and conceal my heavy manic blade. But before that, I should find out Lu Ning's purpose in coming to Owl Falling Star. Yi Qinghan stood by the lake and looked at the Milky Way. His hands were behind his back and his back was facing the common people. His strong and cold aura made it hard for people to approach him. In the distance, Lu Ning looked at Yi Qinghan from afar. Her eyes were filled with doubt and she could not help but get closer to this barren land. The gloomy weather made the fish jump out of the water and the lotus flowers started to wither. Faint spiritual energy floated out of the water and formed a layer of spiritual mist. It was magnificent. At this moment, the courtyard was like a painting in a fairyland. Strands of heavenly melodies spread out. It was as if it came from the ancient times. It was elegant and full of vicissitudes. It attracted countless green birds to circle around. The chirping of the birds accompanied the music. The fish jumped higher and higher as they played. The beauty of nature was displayed here. Lu Ning took a deep breath. She held the silver divine whip tightly and stepped into the courtyard. Yi Qinghan turned around and looked at Lu Ning. His heart sank as he thought, she still came. I didn't expect that after 5 years, she would grow to this extent. The tall Lu Ning could be considered a beauty that could cause the downfall of a country. Her beauty was peerless, enough to instantly kill any woman on Owlfall Star. Her kingly aura was rich, and she had a unique style. Her white warrior's battle robe added to her heroic spirit. Supreme Yi, I know it's you. Lu Ning walked as if she was flying. Her toes touched the surface of the water as if she was walking on flat ground. Finally, she stepped on a lotus leaf like a fairy. The melodious sound was crisp and clear, and the sound of the zither came to an abrupt end. The blue bird flew away, and the area within 100 meters was dead silent. Yi Qinghan's eyes revealed a trace of suspicion as he asked indifferently, "You've got the wrong person. This Yi hasn't even been conferred the title of king, so where did the title of supreme come from?" "Ji Zun, no matter how you change, your soul won't change, your aura won't change, and the story behind you won't change. You don't dare to admit it because you're afraid that Lu Ning will betray you?" Lu Ning asked in a deep voice. "I really don't know who you're talking about. I'm just a barbarian from Wanshan town. I have proof. With your qualifications, it shouldn't be hard to find out who I am." Yi Qinghan turned around with his back facing Lu Ning. A trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes, but it was immediately restrained. He couldn't kill Lu Ning, or else the Lu family's people would swarm into Owlfall Star. No matter how tyrannical he was, he wouldn't be able to escape from the Lu family's pursuit. "Is that so? It doesn't matter if you don't admit it. I can announce to the public that another Yi Qinghan has appeared on Owlfall Star, and he has the same aura as the Supreme Battle King. I believe that not only the Lu family, but all the great revered martial artists in Owlfall Star will rush there." Lu Ning threatened coldly. Yi Qinghan's expression didn't change. The light in his eyes was oppressive, and he quickly regained his calm. He slowly turned around to look at Lu Ning and asked hoarsely, "What do you want to say?" "I want you to prove your identity. Prove your identity to me, or you will die here today. The silver divine whip in Lu Ning's hand emitted a purple light, and its aura enveloped a radius of 1,000 meters. The elegance of this place instantly disappeared, and it became incomparably oppressive. The air froze, and the two of them stared at each other. Neither of them was willing to back down. Qin Shihuang walked out with his zither in his arms. The parrot squatted on Qin Shihuang's shoulder with a vigilant expression. When it saw Lu Ning's hostility and strength, it couldn't help but shiver. "Beauty, if you have something to say, let's talk it out. Our master is handsome and elegant. If you want to marry him, you should at least have a proper attitude. Who would dare to marry such a fierce person?" The parrot said in a despicable manner. "Shut up." Yi Qinghan and Lu Ning shouted at the same time, and coldly reprimanded it. The parrot staggered, and grabbed Qin Shihuang's collar. It immediately shut up, and didn't even dare to make a sound. "My son, go back to the house, and don't come out." Yi Qinghan's hair danced wildly in the wind, and his voice was overbearing and domineering. It was filled with a commanding tone, and Qin Shihuang had no room to refuse. He hugged his zither and went back. Only Yi Qinghan and Lu Ning were left outside the house. The two of them faced each other, and Lu Ning didn't have any intention of compromising. It was as if she was certain that Yi Qinghan was the peerless martial venerate of Owl War Planet. "If I am the supreme venerate you said, what will you do? If I am not, what will you do?" Yi Qinghan asked indifferently. "If you are, let's make a deal." "If you are not, I will kill you," Lu Ning said arrogantly. "Ha ha ha, kill me? Let's not talk about whether or not you can kill me. Let's talk about what kind of deal you are going to make. Maybe it can move me, and I can pretend to be your supreme venerate." Yi Qinghan laughed loudly. He was curious about Lu Ning's thoughts, and he couldn't help but ask. "If you are really him, please prove it. I will help you hide your identity, but you have to agree to one condition." Lu Ning said in a deep voice. "What condition?" Yi Qinghan turned around and sat on the railing. He raised his eyebrows and asked. "Some people in the Lu family made mistakes in the past, and they need to bear the consequences. However, you can't harm the innocent. Give the Lu family a way out." Lu Ning's eyes were like lightning as she stared into Yi Qinghan's eyes. "I have two questions. Can you answer them first?" Yi Qinghan was a little confused. He stared at Lu Ning and asked. "Okay, ask away." Lu Ning suppressed the urgency in her heart and immediately replied. "First of all, from what you said, the supreme venerate you said has a grudge with the Lu family. If you are confident that you can kill me, why don't you?" Yi Qinghan was very confused. He didn't know that a strand of his black hair had completely conquered her back then. "If you are really him, I can't kill you, and I don't want to kill you. As for the reason, don't you know?" Lu Ning's face darkened. The person she loved had become an enemy in the blink of an eye because of the wrong decision of some people in the family. One could imagine how she felt. "Since you are an enemy, why should I believe you?" "Why should I believe you?" Yi Qinghan asked coldly. "As long as you can prove it, I will give you a satisfactory explanation. Even if you want to kill me, I won't frown. As long as you are willing to give the Lu family a way out." Lu Ning replied firmly. Yi Qinghan's lips curled up slightly. He didn't know whether Lu Ning was telling the truth or not, but he knew that she had recognized him. Perhaps she had paid too much attention to him, so she could recognize his back. As for whether Lu Ning could believe him, Yi Qinghan didn't care. No matter if she was sincere or not, he couldn't believe her. "How are you going to make me believe you?" Yi Qinghan asked faintly. "I will seal my memories. All memories related to you will be sealed until I reach the Tao sovereign realm. At that time, you won't care about the Xiaolong region, right?" Lu Ning replied decisively. Sealing her memories was such a sincere concession. It made Yi Qinghan stunned. He didn't expect this little woman to have such deep feelings for him. Yi Qinghan clenched his fist and withdrew his killing intent. He couldn't kill Lu Ning. If she was willing to seal her memories, that would be the best. Let's leave Huiyin City. We can talk outside. Yi Qinghan leaped dozens of meters. He stepped on the waves and created a layer of ripples. Lu Ning's eyes lit up. She was even faster. In the blink of an eye, she was in front of Yi Qinghan. The two of them chased each other, leaving behind afterimages as they ran wildly in the night. As soon as they left Huiyin City, Yi Qinghan used the evolved divine dragon steps. He was as fast as lightning and was on par with Lu Ning. After an hour, they appeared in the forest. The two of them were 20 meters apart. They stared at each other with suppressed auras. No one spoke. After a long time, Lu Ning finally couldn't take it anymore. She took a deep breath and asked in a low voice, "Are you really Supreme Yi?" Yi Qinghan didn't say anything. He summoned the saber core with his left hand and the 7-foot heavy berserk saber with his right hand. He made two preparations. First, he had to prove that he was Yi Qinghan. Second, if Lu Ning lied to him, he could only use his trump card to completely wipe her out. Lu Ning's heart and soul were shaken. She took a few steps back. Her beautiful face became a little interesting. She was surprised, happy, and scared. "You are really Supreme Yi." Lu Ning's Dao heart was in a mess. She struggled for a while and decided not to make a move. "Yes, you can choose to kill me. That way, you won't have to worry about me taking revenge on the Lu family," Yi Qinghan suggested calmly. "No. I won't make a move. Some people in the Lu family should be punished for their mistakes. I won't side with them as long as you're willing to leave the innocent people of the Lu family a way out." Lu Ning replied respectfully. "Why won't you make a move? Just because I gave you a few words of advice? Aren't you afraid that if I agree now, I'll slaughter your entire family in the future?" Yi Qinghan asked coldly. "First, you will always be the supreme in my heart. I don't have the courage to make a move against you. Second, even if I make a move, I won't be able to kill you. I might even be killed by you. Third, you can escape from hundreds of martial supremacies. Wouldn't it be easy for you to escape from a little girl like me? As for your promise to me, you won't go back on it. Otherwise, you won't be Supreme Yi." Lu Ning bowed and replied. "What are you doing here on Owl Falling Star? Who sent you here?" Yi Qinghan was vigilant. He was worried that Lu Ning had a protector by her side. "Supreme, I came here on my own cloud-piercing ship. This time, I came here because I heard that there's a large-scale auction here. There might be a black dragon bone. I came here to see if it's true or not." Lu Ning was very respectful, as if she was facing an elder. She couldn't hide the admiration in her eyes. Cloud-piercing ship. A 5th-grade flying ship. The worst one was worth 10,000 high-grade spirit crystals. Even a 5th-grade family couldn't afford it. Chapter 85. In the night sky, the nebula and the heavenly river flowed in reverse. A dark cloud stretched for thousands of miles and turned into a heavenly dragon. It wanted to swallow the desolate universe and show the vastness and majesty of nature. Yi Qinghan borrowed the power of heaven and earth and turned into a god of war. His battle intent soared to the sky as he clenched his heavy berserk saber and pressed down on Lu Ning. Lu Ning's invincible king aura was instantly suppressed. "I want to tamper with your memories. You can choose to fight with me or listen to me." The hoarse voice carried an undeniable will and was incomparably overbearing. The ethereal pressure of heaven and earth enveloped Lu Ning, suppressing her until she couldn't straighten her back. A dignified king-ranked expert's Tao heart was actually so weak under Yi Qinghan's full power. This was Yi Qinghan's influence on her in her previous life. She couldn't go against him or she would die. However, Yi Qinghan wouldn't look down on Lu Ning just because she didn't dare to go against him. If it was anyone else today, even if it was someone at the fourth step of the Grotto Heaven realm, suppressing Lu Ning like this would only result in an even more terrifying resistance. Supreme Yi, even if you want to kill me, I won't resist. I'll say it again. Back then, most of the people in the Lu clan opposed my ancestors' attack. Many of them are innocent. Please forgive them. Lu Ning sat cross-legged on the ground and kept her silver whip. She waited for Yi Qinghan to tamper with her memories. Yi Qinghan looked at Lu Ning's attitude. He crossed dozens of meters in one step and placed the heavy berserk saber on her neck. Lu Ning actually didn't resist at all. Are you really not afraid of death? I believe that Supreme Yi won't kill a woman who has compromised. Lu Ning's determination made Yi Qinghan silent. He pressed 5 fingers on her head and the tyrannical spirit of a grandmaster broke into Lu Ning's consciousness. Don't resist. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that you can become a normal person. Lu Ning relaxed her consciousness and exposed all her memories. She was defenseless. Yi Qinghan took advantage of this opportunity to enter and view part of her memories. It was about how Xiaolong region treated the remaining living beings of Xiao Zhanqing's Yi family after Xiao Zhanqing's destruction. She saw countless people being massacred, and even desolate beasts weren't spared. Vicious beasts roared and goshawks cried out in grief. These cries turned into the most mournful roars towards the heavens. Unfortunately, they didn't receive the slightest bit of pity. Owl War Star's hundreds of millions of creatures were wiped out in the end. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. A sorrowful aura shot up into the sky. His murderous aura was so dense that it almost materialized. The trembling heavy wild blade cut open Lu Ning's snow-white skin, causing blood to flow out. Lu Ning remained silent. She could feel Yi Qinghan's sadness and anger. She felt sad and helpless. Xiaolong region. I will not rest until you are dead. Yi Qinghan's hoarse voice was filled with killing intent, causing Lu Ning to tremble. Yi Qinghan continued to explore her sea of consciousness, looking for the memories he wanted. After a long time, he finally found the information about Gu Qingyu and Xikong Liancheng. Qingyu didn't die. He actually took advantage of my self-detonation to escape. Yi Qinghan's pupils shrank. His eyes emitted rays of light. After all these years, he finally received a piece of good news. Brother Liancheng also escaped from Xiaolong region. Good. It's good that the two of you are fine. Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. The news of the two's safety was very important to him. He was afraid that the Great Yi clan had already been completely annihilated. The only ones who had a chance to survive were these two brothers. Lu Ning's Dao heart was still calm. She didn't disturb Yi Qinghan and let him gallop in her own desolate world. After obtaining the memories he wanted, Yi Qinghan also understood Lu Ning. He didn't have much hatred towards her. She was willing to give up her defense and let him enter her sea of consciousness to tamper with her memories. This was very beneficial to him. Moreover, with his current situation, it was almost impossible to kill Lu Ning. Even if he killed her, his identity would be exposed. Yi Qinghan used the soul of a great marshal revered to erase Lu Ning's memories of him and tamper with part of her memories. She could only recover them after she reached the Tao revered realm. Lu Ning was drowsy and had no more strength to resist. Finally, she leaned against a big tree and sank into oblivion. Her eyebrows were tightly knitted and occasionally relaxed. She lost some of her heroic spirit and gained some tenderness. Yi Qinghan helped her heal the wound on her neck. Sensing that there was no danger around, he quietly left the forest. In the dark night, Yi Qinghan's mind was in a mess. Tonight, he received some good news and some bad news. Looking up at the dense starry clouds and the cold wind, his sorrowful figure swayed in the cold wind. He stepped into Huiyun City and quickly rushed to the courtyard. The courtyard was brightly lit. Qin Shi was kneeling on the ground and didn't dare to move. Qin Haoran was standing in front of him with his head held high. Qin Ying's face was solemn. He didn't have any intention of letting Qin Shi stand up. Now that it was winter, the temperature of the ground was extremely low. Qin Shi was weak. He allowed the cold air to enter his body but didn't dare to refute Qin Ying. "My son, serve Mr. Yi well. Do you understand?" Qin Ying said coldly. "I understand." Qin Shi replied respectfully. "Your brother was muddle-headed and did something wrong. Don't take it to heart. I've already taught him a lesson at home. When Mr. Yi comes back, you can talk to him and see if he can teach your brother a thing or two." Qin Ying said matter-of-factly. He didn't care about Qin Shi feelings at all. "Teach your sister. Qin Shi, get up. Otherwise, I'll expel you from the sect on behalf of the master." The parrot was furious. It looked at the pair of bastards in front of it and wanted to burn them to death. "Bastard, you're just a bastard. You dare to order me around? Today, I'll spare your life for Mr. Ye's sake. If you dare to talk back, I'll pull out your tongue." Qin Ying's aura erupted and suppressed the parrot. How could the parrot be a match for an expert at the peak of the third step of Grotto Heaven realm? It was forced back several steps by the aura. But today, it actually stood firm and didn't back down. "Qin Shi, stand up. If you don't stand up, I'll get angry." The parrot angrily scolded. "You dare. Disobeying grandfather's orders will result in you being expelled from the Qin clan." Qin Haoran coldly looked at Qin Shi and disdainfully warned him. From the beginning, he looked down on this blind Qin Shi. Qin Ying didn't say anything, but his attitude was clear. Qin Shi body trembled. The cold air coming from his knees made him frown. He struggled for a while, but in the end, he didn't dare to stand up. "Fuck, I'm going to die from anger. You bastards, when the master comes back, he'll definitely beat you to death." The parrot was flustered and exasperated. It spat out a mouthful of flames onto the ground, raising the temperature of the surroundings. Qin Shi finally felt a bit better. "Humph, Mr. Yi only took pity on him. If he was willing to accept me as his disciple, I'd definitely be 10,000 times better than this blind man." Qin Haoran's arrogance soared to the heavens. He seemed to consider himself an insufferably arrogant genius. When Yi Qinghan was 100 meters away from the monastery, he suddenly sensed 2 additional soul fluctuations. He couldn't help but frown. Summoning his heavy berserk saber, he crossed dozens of meters with a single step and broke through the door. Seeing Qin Shi kneeling on the ground, he was immediately enraged. "Stand up for me." Yi Qinghan's eyes emitted a cold flame. His battle robes fluttered and his long hair wildly danced. The momentum of the world around him froze. His hoarse voice contained a supreme will, as if even the heavens couldn't go against it. Seeing Yi Qinghan return, Qin Shi immediately regained his backbone. He supported himself with the zither in his bosom and stood up. His legs were sore. It was obvious that he had been kneeling for a long time. He staggered and almost fell down. Yi Qinghan was both angry and in pain. He coldly looked at Qin Ying, not bothering to hide his killing intent. He angrily shouted, "Qin Ying, I'm giving you face. Do you think you can humiliate my people?" Murderous intent rose from all directions in the monastery. The icy cold aura caused the water in the lotus pond to quickly freeze. It was so cold that it was suffocating. Qin Haoran's face paled as he repeatedly retreated. He didn't dare to look directly at Yi Qinghan. Qin Ying's expression suddenly changed. This was the first time he had been insulted like this. How could his mood be good? Mr. Yi, I respect you. You're too arrogant. This old man wants to teach a descendant of the Qin clan. This is my right. Don't say that I want him to kneel, even if I want him to die, he can't refuse. Qi Ning coldly said. Kakik, the veins on Yi Qinghan's entire body bulged. He tightly gripped his heavy wild saber, emitting a cold light in all directions. Remember, Qin Shi Huang is my disciple. He doesn't need you to discipline him. If you dare to speak out of turn and anger me, it won't do you any good. Yi Qinghan strongly warned. Yi Qinghan, for a blind person, and a little girl at that, you want to fall out with me and end our cooperation? Qin Ying's aura suddenly changed as he coldly questioned. Little girl. Yi Qinghan glanced at Qin Shi Huang. He wasn't too surprised. After all, Qin Shi Huang's personality was too similar to a little girl's. So what if she's a little girl? She'll eventually step into the 9 heavens and look down on all living things. She'll become an eternal emperor. Yi Qinghan disdainfully looked at Qin Ning and coldly said, since you look down on Qin Shi Huang so much, then I'll buy her out today. I won't want the remaining spirit crystals from the sale of the 5th grade martial technique, cloud flipping palm. I'll buy this little girl. From today onwards, Qin Shi Huang will no longer be called Qin Shi Huang. He'll be called Emperor Yi and will no longer have any relationship with your Qin clan. Are you serious? The cloud flipping palm will completely belong to the Qin clan and the Qin clan won't owe you any more spirit crystals. Qi Ning was overjoyed. A blind cripple, and a little girl at that, in exchange for the 5th grade martial technique, cloud flipping palm, was simply great news. Yes, so Qin Shi Huang will no longer be Qin Shi Huang. He'll be Emperor Yi. If any of you dare to order him around, don't blame me for being impolite. Yi Qinghan coldly warned. Good. Qin Shi Huang, no, Emperor Yi will no longer have any relationship with my Qin clan. My Qin clan also won't owe Mr. Yi any more spirit crystals. As for the remaining cooperation, I think it's better if Mr. Yi doesn't end it. After all, this old man doesn't want to fall out with you. You don't want that either, right? Qi Ning coldly smiled and lightly asked. Yi Qinghan disdainfully smiled. There was no need to cooperate with such a clan. It was not safe to leave Yi Mengshi and the others in the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. He could only choose to cooperate with someone else, and it had to be someone smart. No need. Qi Ning, leave Qin Haran here. Go to Qingzhou and personally bring Yi Mengshi and the others here. If I don't see them tomorrow, you will regret it. Yi Qinghan resolutely shouted. Qin Ying's expression changed. He didn't think that asking Qin Shi Huang to kneel would cause such a big reaction from Yi Qinghan. He didn't even hesitate to end the cooperation and fall out with him. Yi Qinghan, do you want to fall out with this old man? Qi Ning questioned. I won't fall out with you, but I hope you won't play any tricks. These are useless against me. If Yi Mengshi and the others die, your Qin clan will have 100 direct descendants buried with them. If all 3 of them die, your Qin clan will cease to exist. I will do what I say. If you don't believe me, you can try. Yi Qinghan's aura exploded. His Grand Marshal Saint soul pressed down on Qi Ning. His battle intent soared to the heavens. The domineering aura caused Qin Ying's expression to change. Chapter 86. Yi Qinghan's eyes were like torches as a cold light flashed through his eyes. The 7-foot heavy spear in his hand could freeze a person's heart. Qin Ying's expression was solemn. He didn't think that Yi Qinghan would actually fall out with him over a blind person. He didn't know what to do for a moment. What? You want to fight me? Qi Ning, I'll say the ugly words first. If you obediently stop cooperating with me, I might even give you some benefits in the future for the sake of my son. Otherwise, let's see if I can destroy both of you. Yi Qinghan warned coldly. Mr. Yi, why do you have to do this? Even if Qin Shi Huang's talent is extraordinary, so what? In the end, he's still a blind person. Is his talent better than Haoran's? Is his potential even greater? Qi Ning disdainfully retorted. Yi Qinghan sneered, speechless. If Qin Haoran's trash talent could be compared to the zither immortal scarlet demon physique, then that would be too laughable. Qin Haoran's talent wasn't even fit to carry Qin Shi Huang's shoes. I have no fate with him. Since you think Qin Haoran still has value in nurturing, then bring Yi Mingxi and the others here. With your speed, you should be able to return by tomorrow morning. Yi Qinghan didn't want to say more. Qi Ning was helpless. He really didn't dare to fall out with Yi Qinghan right now. Yi Qinghan was too strange in his heart. Perhaps it was the premonition of this old fox that he didn't dare to offend. Alright, my Qin clan is willing to be friends with Mr. Yi. Today, this old man was impulsive. In order to express my apologies, I'll bring Yi Mingxi and the others here. Qi Ning bitterly smiled and turned to leave with Qin Haoran. Leave Qin Haoran behind. Yi Qinghan looked disdainfully at everyone, his will reaching the heavens. Grandfather, I don't want to stay. Qin Haoran's face was deathly pale as he begged in a low voice. Haoran, you stay. Perhaps you can have a chat. Qi Ning said in a low voice. Since Qi Ning had spoken, Qin Haoran did not dare to disobey. He could only watch as Qi Ning soared into the sky and disappeared without a trace. The energy in the private courtyard was a bit eerie. Qin Haoran couldn't sit still, and kept glancing at the Qin Emperor and Yi Qinghan. Qin Haoran, if you dare to run around, I will break your legs. Yi Qinghan looked at Qin Haoran with disdain. He couldn't help but feel speechless at Qin Ying's eyes. This kind of trash could actually be compared to the immortal zither crimson demon physique. For Qin Haoran, he actually used Qin Huang as a scapegoat. Yi Qinghan, don't go too far. Qin Haoran was dissatisfied with Yi Qinghan's arrogant attitude. What can you do if I go overboard? Yi Qinghan asked disdainfully. Qin Haoran was speechless. Qin Shi Huang's face was flushed red. At this moment it was hard to tell whether she was happy or sad. She had no status in the Qin clan, but in the eyes of Yi Qinghan, he was willing to use a 5th-grade martial technique to buy her. This was the difference. My son, in the future, no one can make you kneel or order you. Do you understand? Yi Qinghan said coldly. I understand, master. Qin Shi Huang nodded solemnly. He was extremely happy. Carry these 4 swords on your back and never let them leave your body. Yi Qinghan gave the 4th-grade spiritual sword set to Qin Shi Huang. These 4 swords were priceless. They were built with a top-grade spiritual array, allowing people to achieve twice the result with half the effort. Thank you, master. Qin Shi Huang was extremely respectful. His heart was completely leaning towards Yi Qinghan and not the Qin clan. Go and find Lu Outyan. Tell him that I want to talk business with him. Yi Qinghan looked at the parrot and said indifferently. Showed that the parrot didn't say anything and disappeared into the night sky. Qin Shi Huang returned to his room alone to cultivate. Only Yi Qinghan and Qin Haoran were left staring at each other. In the end, Qin Haoran didn't have enough momentum and could only hide to the side, staying far away from Yi Qinghan. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Lu Outyan knew that Yi Qinghan wanted to talk business with him. He didn't even have time to wear his shoes and directly rushed out of the relay station, heading straight for the courtyard. Ha ha ha, brother Qinghan, Outyan knew that you wanted to talk business with me. I'm so happy that I dressed too impolitely. Please don't take offense. Lu Outyan laughed and stepped into the courtyard. He couldn't help but feel curious when he saw that Qin Haran was also here. Yi Qinghan smiled indifferently. He chose to talk business with Lu Outyen because he saw that Lu Outyen was smart enough. He knew that this kind of person wouldn't make a wrong decision. So Brother Qin is also here. You guys are? Lu Outyen asked in surprise. Cough, cough. So it's Brother Lu. I'm here. Qin Haran was embarrassed. He coughed dryly and wanted to explain. However, Yi Qinghan suddenly exploded and punched the back of his head. Bang! Qin Haran fell to the ground. He didn't even have time to make a sound before he was knocked unconscious by Yi Qinghan. Lu Outyen. Brother Yi, what are you doing? Lu Outyen broke out in cold sweat. Yi Qinghan was definitely the first person to use such a violent method to treat a direct descendant of the Qin clan. Nothing much. Just let him sleep for a while. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. He stepped into the pavilion and gestured for Lu Outyen to sit down. The two sat opposite each other. Lu Outyen impatiently asked, Brother Yi, what kind of business do you want to talk about with me? It's very simple for you. Help me protect 3 people, 3 women. It's a very simple job. However, the reward I'll give you is something you can't even dream of. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Ah. Protect 3 women. Who are they? Lu Outyen didn't ask about the reward. This was where he was smart. He felt that Yi Qinghan wasn't simple. Thus, it would be better to be on good terms with him than to have a one-time reward. My mother, my sister, and a personal maid named Jian Qinxue. Protect them for 3 years and I'll give you a grade 5 martial technique. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. The courtyard was deathly silent. Lu Outyen was stunned by a grade 5 martial technique. It wasn't that he wasn't calm, but that he couldn't calm down. There wasn't a grade 5 martial technique in the entire Owl Falling Star. A grade 5 martial technique was enough to make ancient Lulan a peerless empire and unify the entire Owl Falling Star. What did you say? Grade 5 martial technique? Just to protect them for 3 years. Lu Outyen couldn't understand and couldn't believe it. Yes, you didn't hear wrong. It's a grade 5 martial technique. You use a sword? Yi Qinghan asked in a low voice. Yes, I use a sword. But why did you choose me? With this kind of reward, you can find experts in the 4th step of the Grotto Heaven realm or even the Fate Palace realm, right? Lu Outyen couldn't react in time and asked excitedly. I looked for you because you're a smart person. From the moment you appeared, I've been observing you. You have ancient Lulan as your backing. No one would be willing to attack ancient Lulan's crown prince's residence for 3 women's lives. Secondly, you're a cautious person. You won't be rash and greedy like others. Thirdly, I feel that you're a person I can get along with. Maybe we'll be friends in the future, Yi Qinghan replied in a low voice. Lu Outyen took a deep breath and swallowed his saliva. His hands were trembling. A grade 5 martial technique was too attractive to him. Good. Thank you Brother Yi for thinking so highly of me. I'm not a greedy person. With a grade 5 martial technique, I have the confidence to step into the endless universe. There's no need to rely on greed to gain glory. As for your mother and sister's safety, I guarantee that no one will harm them. Their status in the Crown Prince's residence is the same as mine, Lu Outyen stood up and guaranteed. It seems like you trust me a lot. Then you don't mind giving your sea of consciousness to me for a moment, right? I'll pass the memories of the martial technique to you. Yi Qinghan stared at Lu Outyen and asked in a low voice. Lu Outyen's breathing stagnated. Normally, cultivators wouldn't give their sea of consciousness to others unless they had a special trust. Giving one's sea of consciousness to others was equivalent to giving one's life to others. The two looked at each other and remained silent for a long time. Lu Outyen struggled for a while and decided to take a risk. This was the respect between experts. People like Yi Qinghan disdain to play tricks. No problem. But before that, I'll make a vow. I, Lu Outyen, will fulfill my promise to Brother Yi and protect Brother Ye's mother and sister. If I go against my vow, my Tao heart will shatter and I'll fall into hell, never to rise again. Lu Outyen raised his hand and made the vow. He triggered the power of the heaven and earth contract, causing a ray of light to flash and rush into his sea of consciousness. Yi Qinghan nodded his head in satisfaction. He passed the memories of the great cycle sword technique to Lu Outyen. However, he didn't pass on his cultivation experience. Even if Lu Outyen's talent wasn't bad, he would still need 3 to 5 years to achieve results. By that time, he wouldn't need to rely on others anymore. A memory that didn't belong to Lu Outyen flowed out from his sea of consciousness. He saw an illusory figure continuously cultivating a terrifying sword technique in his sea of consciousness. It triggered the phenomenon of the universe, piercing through the blue dome of heaven with a single sword strike, cutting through the 9 heavens, reversing the universe and evolving an illusory reincarnation grand Tao. The heaven and earth were filled with corpses and bones. He couldn't help but feel apprehensive. What a powerful sword technique. It actually has the aura of reincarnation. No wonder it's called the Great Cycle Sword Technique. Lu Outyen was incomparably excited. Many thanks for Brother Ye's generous gift. I'll remember this favor. I'll entrust my life to you in the future. Lu Outyen cupped his fist and said. No need to thank me. This martial technique is useless to me. There's no harm in giving it to you as a reward. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. He glanced at the unconscious Qin Haran and reminded him, I advise Brother Lu not to expose this before you reach the 4th sword of the Great Cycle Sword Technique. This includes your clansman and Emperor Father. Otherwise, you'll bring a fatal disaster to yourself. Many thanks for Brother Ye's reminder. Today's matter, only the heavens and earth, only you and I will know. It will definitely not reach the ears of a third person. Lu Outyen's eyes shone with a different kind of light. No one knew the value of a 5th-grade martial technique better than him. Go. Come pick him up tomorrow morning. After Yi Qinghan sent Lu Outyen off, he tied Qin Haran up and threw him to the side. He returned to his room to cultivate. He was preparing to create a 5th-grade martial technique that belonged to him. He was also preparing for tomorrow's auction. He wanted to obtain some treasures that were suitable for him. In the middle of the night, Qin Haran woke up from the cold. He discovered that his qi si was sealed and his body was tied up like a dumpling. He was hung in the pavilion. His face was ashen. His hatred for Yi Qinghan had reached its peak. Yi Qinghan. Don't give me a chance. Otherwise, I'll make you wish you were dead. Qin Haran roared in his heart. The veins on his body bulged. A gust of cold wind blew past, causing his body to shiver. Chapter 87. It was a cold autumn morning. Frost covered the ground with a white veil. Qin Haran's qi si was sealed. He could not circulate his ethereal force to warm himself up. His body was shivering, his face was pale, and his lips were turning purple. Hey, young man, you're quite angry. Why don't you come in and have a seat in such cold weather? The parrot ran into the courtyard and looked at Qin Haran. Qin Haran exhaled a mouthful of white mist and stared at the parrot ferociously. He finally realized how despicable the parrot was. Yi Qinghan. You despicable man, you will get your retribution. I will pay for the humiliation I suffered today. Qin Haran roared and struggled crazily. His wrists were bleeding from the rope. Idiot, you only know how to shout. Are you cold now? Shall I set you on fire to warm you up? The parrot said with disdain. Kakik, Qin Haran gritted his teeth. He was cold and angry. The anger in his eyes almost burned the sky. He was the eldest son of the Qin family. Since when had he been humiliated like this? At this moment, Qin Shi Huang walked out like a snow lotus blooming in winter. She was elegant, holy, and fairy-like. Since she was young, she was asked by Qining to show up as a boy. He did not allow her to dress as a girl or reveal her identity. Qin Shi Huang compromised in order to gain some familial affection. Unfortunately, what she got in return was not familial affection, but greedy demands. Yi Qinghan made her feel safe. It was the first time she wore female clothes that she had prepared for more than a year. She looked so fresh and natural. Despicable woman. You ungrateful wretch. The Qin family raised you. You didn't even say a word when you saw your own brother being hung here. Are you still human? Qin Haran scolded angrily. You're even more shameless than me. Why didn't you tell her that you're her brother when you asked her to kneel down? You're really asking for a beating. The parrot was furious. It finally found someone more shameless than it. However, it was not happy at all. Instead, it got even angrier. Whoosh! It spat out a mouthful of fire and drowned Qin Haran. Qin Haran finally understood what it was like to be on fire and ice. 1 second he was frozen to death, and the next second he was burned by fire. Ah! A shrill scream pierced through the sky and reached the depths of the universe. Countless green birds were startled and flew away. Serves you right. Slut! Anyone who is more slutty than me should die. The parrot was indignant. It wanted to spit out another mouthful of fire, but it was stopped by Qin Shi Huang. Divine bird, forget it. After all, he is the eldest son of the Qin clan. If you burn him to death, the Qin clan will not let you off. Qin Huang said gently. His voice was even more beautiful than the sound of the zither. Bang! The rope that bound Qin Haran was burned off, and he fell from the sky. His body twitched as he fell, and the burnt smell spread far and wide. The parrot looked at Qin Haran, who was still twitching and screaming, and said disdainfully, Little bastard, if you dare to spout any more nonsense, I'll turn you into a barbecue. Yi Qinghan walked out of the room and took a look at the miserable Qin Haran. He merely smiled coldly and did not blame him. Seeing that the Qin emperor looked so otherworldly despite being a woman, he nodded and said, Be yourself in the future. Yes, master. The Qin emperor smiled, causing the world to lose its color, as if flowers were blooming in spring. The sky gradually brightened, but Qining still had not arrived. Yi Qinghan glanced at Qin Haran coldly, causing him to feel as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Lu Outyan brought 2 powerful Dao protectors to pick up Qin Haran early in the morning. He was still in a state of excitement. Brother Yi, I'm here. When can you pick him up? Lu Outyan saw the miserable Qin Haran the moment he entered the room. His heart trembled. He knew that he must not offend Yi Qinghan. Otherwise, he might end up worse than Qin Haran. Very soon. I believe Qining will not disappoint me. Yi Qinghan was incomparably cold. A cold aura gushed out from his eyes and froze the surroundings. As expected, Qining personally drove a chariot formed by a third-grade flying demonic beast, the bloodthirsty eagle, across the sky. He traveled 10,000 miles in a single day and used a single night to rush to Flaming Cloud City. It seemed like he still had a high opinion of Qin Haran. Yi Qinghan raised his eyes and looked at the sky. He saw the bloodthirsty eagle streaking across the sky as fast as lightning, wanting to break through the shackles. He took a deep breath and broke Qin Haran's sealed Qi with a snap of his finger. He said coldly, Change your clothes and tidy yourself up before coming out. Qin Haran struggled to stand up. He looked at Yi Qinghan, the parrot, and the Qin emperor with a venomous expression. He wished he could devour their flesh and blood. However, he didn't dare to say anything now. He rushed into a room and quickly changed his clothes. He washed his burnt face and walked out in a panic. When he saw Qi Ning descending on the flying chariot, he was so excited that he almost cried. Yimengshi knew that she would be able to see Yi Qinghan today. She was even more excited. She stretched out her little head and looked around in the sky. The moment she landed on the ground, she threw herself at him. "Brother! I missed you so much." Yimengshi's body was like a sharp sword as she sped past the courtyard. It was as if she was reversing time. An afterimage flashed past the courtyard and in the blink of an eye, she threw herself into Yi Qinghan's embrace. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They couldn't help but marvel at her fast speed. Looking closely, they saw that she was only a 5 or 6-year-old little girl. They were even more shocked. Bitter Sea Stage. 5-year-old Bitter Sea Stage. Behind Lu Outyen, old Shue's eyes flashed and he almost fell to the ground. What? 5-year-old Bitter Sea Stage. Lu Outyen's eyes were filled with suspicion. Looking at Yimengshi, he suddenly felt that he had lived on a dog's body for the past 20 years. "Oh, little master, you only have master in your eyes. Can't you see that this divine bird is also here?" The parrot had a strange smile on its face. It opened its wings and made a hugging posture. "Ha ha ha, divine bird, hug." Yimengshi was extremely happy. She reached out and hugged the parrot. She discovered that the parrot had become as fat as a ball. Its body was about the same size as her. She couldn't help but dislike it. "Divine bird, how did you become so fat?" "Cough cough, I'm on a diet. In half a year, I'll be a mighty divine bird." The parrot laughed embarrassedly. Yi Qinghan looked at the pair of buffoons and smiled gently. He walked towards the door and personally welcomed Wang Shi. "Mother, how are you doing in the Qin family?" Yi Qinghan gave Wang Shi a hug. Looking at her, who was still as old as before, his heart couldn't help but ache. He didn't expect that he couldn't buy the face restoration pill on Owl Fall Star. "Good, good. The Qin family is very good to us. As long as you are safe, mother can rest assured." Wang Shi looked at Yi Qinghan. She couldn't get enough of him. A mother would be worried when a son travels 1,000 miles. No matter how strong Yi Qinghan became, Wang Shi's worry would only become stronger. Yi Qinghan felt Wang Shi's worry and felt warmth in his heart. He held Wang Shi's withered hand and looked at Jian Qinxue. He smiled and said, "Qinxue, I'll have to trouble you to take care of me these days." "You're welcome. It's what I should do. Moreover, Meng Shi and I are fated to be together. I'm very happy with her and I've improved very quickly. Now that I've broken into the Bitter Sea realm, I should thank her." Jian Qinxue smiled faintly. Qi Ning had a helpless expression. He was very unwilling to terminate the cooperation with Yi Qinghan. Especially when he saw Lu Outyen coming to take over, he felt even more pained. When he looked at Qin Shi Huang again, his eyes flashed with gentleness. "My son, I've wronged you all these years. The Qin family has wronged you. I hope you won't take it to heart. I've thought about it all night. After all, I was wrong all these years. I'm willing to make up for it. Therefore, I've decided to give you 40% of the property rights of the Lingbao Pavilion. From now on." Qi Ning said seriously. "Great-grandfather." Qin Haoran's expression changed drastically. He was extremely unwilling and wanted to stop him. "Shut up. You can't change my decision." Qi Ning scolded coldly. However, Yi Qinghan did not buy it. He did not care about the property of the Lingbao Pavilion. "There's no need. Don't forget that my son has already been bought out by me. It has nothing to do with the Qin family. I'll make up for the lack of childhood. You don't have to worry about it." Yi Qinghan coldly rejected Qin Ying's goodwill. "Mr. Yi. Qin Ying's expression did not change. He did not expect Yi Qinghan to be so resolute. There's nothing more to say. You can leave now. We're going to attend the auction. Yi Qinghan ordered them to leave coldly. He then said to Lu Outyen and the rest, let's go together. Let's see what's going to be auctioned this year that attracted so many powerhouses. Mr. Yi, be careful. I heard that there are a few Fate Palace realm powerhouses here. I'll take my leave now. Qin Ying was helpless. He could only slowly make up for it and change Yi Qinghan's attitude towards him. He kindly reminded Yi Qinghan and led the unwilling Qin Haran out of the courtyard. Burning Blood, Bitter Ocean, Heavenly Grotto, Fate Palace, Dao Sovereign, each step was a different level. There were no Dao Sovereigns on Owl Fall, and even Fate Palaces were few and far between. They might not even appear once in a few years, so many people on Owl Fall had forgotten about the existence of Fate Palaces. Yi Qinghan frowned. Even Paradise Realm powerhouses were difficult for him, let alone Fate Palace Realm powerhouses. Don't worry, Brother Yi. Our Lulan ancestor is also a Fate Palace Realm powerhouse. He won't act recklessly. Let's go. Lu Outyen said confidently. Yi Qinghan nodded. He was thinking about how to survive a Fate Palace Realm powerhouse in the most dangerous situation. The group of people walked towards the auction. With the Lulan ancestor leading the way, they were unobstructed. The auction house was not only guarded by the auction house's powerhouses, there was also a large group of Fire Qilin army outside. Everyone who could enter the auction house was either rich or respectable. Without 100,000 lower spiritual crystals, they wouldn't even be able to enter. Lu Outyen had his own private room. Yi Qinghan didn't want to reveal his identity, so he entered the private room with them. The auction house was at least a few thousand square meters. There were 4 floors that surrounded a large hall. It was like a coliseum. There were many arrays around it. Anyone who dared to act recklessly here would be killed. As soon as Yi Qinghan entered the auction house, he noticed a few faint soul auras. They were all on the 4th floor. He thought to himself, 5 Fate Palace realm powerhouses. There might be more. I wonder what level they are at. Yi Qinghan didn't dare to spread out his spiritual sense to approach the 4th floor. He was very cautious. Looking at the large group of Bitter Sea realm powerhouses sitting in the hall, he knew that treasures would be born today. Lu Ning was alone. She was unruly and unruly. Her cold appearance made people afraid to approach her. Only a few daring playboys wanted to get close, but they were stopped by the Paradise Realm elders. Lu Ning didn't bother to communicate with others and went straight to the 4th floor. The auction house staff didn't dare to stop her. It seemed that they already knew her identity. Chapter 88. There was a sea of people in the auction house. No one dared to bully others here. If they couldn't get a VIP room, they had to stay in the hall. Even those in the Grotto Heaven realm had to behave themselves. Otherwise, they would be suppressed by those in the Fate Palace realm. All the families in the Owlfall Star that were above the 3rd rank were mobilized. In the end, the auction house had to tear down a wall and doubled the space inside. Only then could they squeeze in 1,000 people. Among these 1,000-odd people, even the smallest family property was above 10,000 middle grade. If they did not have such strength, they would only be spending the entrance ticket to watch the show. Lu Outyen and Yi Qinghan sat in front of the window and looked at the people in the hall calmly. They had seen such a big event before, especially Yi Qinghan. He had seen more exaggerated auctions than this one countless times. Brother Yi, it seems like you also want to buy something good. If you don't have enough spirit crystals, you can ask me to repay your kindness. Lu Outyen suppressed his excitement and said in a low voice. Okay, I still have some spirit crystals with me. If I don't have enough, I will ask you. Yi Qinghan said in a serious voice. Yi Qinghan also wanted the ancient dragon bone. This bone could be fused with the arms and condensed into a dragon bone arm. It was comparable to a 5th-grade combat weapon. If there were enough materials, it could even be fused with every corner of the body. Even if he was in the Bitter Sea realm, Fate Palace realm would not be able to do anything to him. Unfortunately, Lu Ning was here for the ancient dragon bone. The spirit crystals she had could probably buy the entire Outfall star. With Yi Qinghan's current strength, it was impossible for him to win. Lu Ning went up to the 4th floor. A few old monsters looked at her and stood up one after another. They wanted to make friends with the princess of the Lu family. Sit down. Lu Ning's cold eyes made them stay away. The auction officially begins. Other than bidding, no one is allowed to make a racket. Otherwise, you will be expelled from the auction. A voice filled with vicissitudes of life resounded in the auction house. It was so penetrating that it seemed to ring in everyone's ears. Yi Qinghan's eyes were sharp as he looked at the old man standing in front of the hall. He was dressed in white and emitted a powerful aura. He was in the 3rd step of the Grotto Heaven realm and was comparable to Qi Ning. Seems like the auction house's strength isn't inferior to the Qin clan. Lu Outyan said in a low voice. No one would reveal all of their resources. The fact that the auction house is able to send a 3rd-step Grotto Heaven realm powerhouse to host the auction means that they must have a Life Palace powerhouse, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. In the room, Lady Wang looked at Qin Shi Huang. The more she looked at him, the more satisfied she was. Yi Mingxi and Qin Shi Huang were about the same age, so they got along well quickly. Jian Qinxue also took pity on Qin Shi Huang, which gave Qin Shi Huang the kinship and friendship that he dreamed of. The parrot had a covetous look on its face. Its big eyes were fixed on the backstage of the auction house, and its little claws were trembling non-stop. Master, I found a treasure, the parrot said excitedly. What kind of treasure? Yi Qinghan couldn't help but raise his eyebrows as he looked at the excited parrot. Demon God fruit. Oh my God! I'm going to be rich. This fruit can allow me to instantly evolve to the Grotto Heaven realm. I'm going to eat it. The parrot was so excited that it rushed out of the private room without asking for Yi Qinghan's permission. It quickly disappeared into the crowd. Yi Qinghan frowned. He was a little annoyed by the parrot's impulsiveness. The demon god fruit was indeed precious. It was a treasure to the demon beasts. It was worth 100,000 mid-grade spiritual crystals, and there was no market for it. However, with so many powerhouses watching, it would be difficult to get it. It might even cause a disaster. Yi Qinghan couldn't help but worry about the bastard parrot. However, the parrot had already flown away. No one would care about the whereabouts of a bird. The auction begins. Let's welcome our auction house's most beautiful 5th-grade auctioneer, Huang Xiaomeng. The old man hosting the auction blushed. Apparently, he was one of Huang Xiaomeng's followers. Wow! Huang Xiaomeng actually came to auction in person. The 10 mid-grade spiritual crystals were worth it. Yes, it was indeed worth it. There was an uproar in the hall. Even the powerhouses at the peak of the Grotto Heaven realm couldn't suppress it. Many people in the private rooms directly pushed open the doors and came out to make a fuss. Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows and looked at the auction stage. He saw a tall and voluptuous beauty walking out. She was indeed a peerless beauty. Coupled with her hot body, seductive eyes, and the fact that she was a 5th-grade auctioneer, it was worth it for so many people to go crazy over her. Wow, beautiful sister. Yi Mingxi stretched her head and leaned against the window. She looked curiously at Huang Xiaomeng, who was wearing a translucent battle robe. How beautiful. Is she more beautiful than Sister Shui? Jian Qinxue flipped her hair and said proudly. He, they are all very beautiful. However, I think Sister Huang is the most beautiful. You don't have any impurities. You are very warm. Yi Mingxi was a child after all. She didn't know how to lie and spoke the truth. Jian Qinxue looked at Qin Shihuang. Qin Shihuang hadn't grown up yet. She was like a budding flower bud. She was so beautiful that it made people feel that she was bland. Jian Qinxue walked to the window and saw Huang Xiaoming's appearance clearly. She was indeed flawless and couldn't be picky. Yi Qinhan smiled indifferently. This kind of woman should be judged by men. He didn't expect Yi Mingxi and Jian Qinxue to be the ones to talk about her. Huang Xiaoming's appearance was more charming and enchanting. Jian Qinxue, on the other hand, was pure like snow. One had a hot body, and the other was seductive and reserved. They were evenly matched. Qin Shihuang smiled and didn't stand up. She couldn't see even if she was near the window. She could only extend her divine sense outside the window and shroud Huang Xiaoming. She was also stunned by her hot body. Thank you for your compliments. Huang Xiaoming is very polite. Huang Xiaoming bowed slightly. The audience was quiet. Her crisp voice was like an oriole flying out of the valley. It was extremely pleasing to the ears. No one wanted to disturb her. Today, I will personally auction 108 treasures. I hope everyone will participate. I have decided to accept the invitation of 3 customers for dinner at the end of the auction, Huang Xiaoming continued. Which 3? What kind of people are qualified? Goddess, please explain. That's right. Goddess, you have to be fair. You can't just take care of the strong and ignore us, the younger generation. The crowd went crazy. Everyone wanted to get close to her and have dinner with the only 5th-grade goddess on Owlfall planet. At this moment, even the Life Palace mirror on the 4th floor was moved. Only Lu Ning sneered and was extremely disdainful. The first person is the one who paid the most money in today's auction. No matter how many treasures he bought, as long as he paid the most money, it's fine. What else? The second person is the one who knows the best. Among these 108 treasures, there is one that I like the most. I think it has the highest value, but it seems to be very practical. Perhaps there aren't many people bidding for it. If there is anyone who has a good eye and buys it, I'll treat him or her to supper tonight. Huang Xiaoming was indeed a 5th-grade auctioneer. The more ordinary a treasure was, the more people would fight over it. They might even find a treasure. In this area, the price of the treasures might increase by 20 to 30%. What about the third person? The third person is naturally the one who bought the final treasure. Let's cut to the chase and get back to the topic. The first auction item is a 4th-grade spiritual sword set. It's small and light, suitable for women. It has a built-in spirit-gathering formation that can change a cultivator's talent and qualifications. Cultivation will be twice the result with half the effort. This spiritual sword set is a must-have for chasing beauties. No one can resist the temptation of a spiritual sword set. If you have a goddess in your heart but can't get her, buy it. It can make your dreams come true. Huang Xiaoming took out 4 exquisite spiritual swords from a slender metal box. They were exactly the same as the spiritual swords Yi Qinghan obtained. They must have been made by the same person. As soon as the spiritual swords appeared, the surrounding spiritual qi became extremely rich. It attracted the exclamations and cheers of many women. The first treasure raised the mood to a climax. Yi Qinghan could not help but be curious. Who made this spiritual sword set? The other party should be a woman who was extremely proficient in the art of refining. He did not expect such a person to exist on Owlfall planet. The starting bid for this 4th-grade spiritual sword set is 2,000 mid-grade spiritual crystals. Each bid increment must be no less than 100 mid-grade spiritual crystals. It's equivalent to 500 mid-grade spiritual crystals for a spiritual sword. It's very cheap. Huang Xiaoming's eyes sparkled like autumn waters, causing countless men to go crazy. This spiritual sword set is interesting. I'll buy it for Meng Shi as a greeting gift, Lu Outyan said calmly. Yi Qinghan did not refuse. Although this item was extremely valuable, not many people were willing to spend so many mid-grade spiritual crystals to please a woman. Moreover, compared to the 5th grade sword technique, the Great Reincarnation sword technique, it was a far cry. I'll pay 2,500 mid-grade spiritual crystals. Just as Huang Xiaoming finished speaking, someone called out a high price. I'll pay 2,600. I'll pay 3,000. Everyone called out crazily. Some people even raised the price by 500 to 600 mid-grade spiritual crystals at once, as if the spiritual crystals were worthless. Lu Outyan looked at the crowd who kept raising the price like mad dogs. He could not help but frown. If this continued, the price would probably rise to tens of thousands. I'll pay 8,000 mid-grade spiritual crystals. Lu Outyan said in a low voice. He increased the price by 5,000 mid-grade spiritual crystals at once, which shocked many people into silence. The hall also quieted down. 8,000 mid-grade spiritual crystals was not a small amount. Brother Hu, you promised to give it to me. I beg you, I want it. As long as you give this spiritual sword set to me, I'll agree to anything you say. A coquettish voice was extremely ear-piercing, breaking the silence. Lu Outyan's face darkened. He looked towards the hall and saw a fat man who was as fat as a pig and a delicate and enchanting woman drooling over the spiritual sword set. He could not help but feel bad. This middle-aged man who was as fat as a pig was not an ordinary person. He was a famous local tycoon on Owlfall Planet, the head of the ancient Shen family, Shen Dian. His cultivation was not very high, but he controlled several spiritual crystal veins. His wealth could rival a country. This man did not have any special hobbies, except for his love of beauty. In order to woo powerful female cultivators, he spent money like water. Until now, who knew how many beautiful girls he had played with? Okay. My little darling, if you like it, I'll buy it. You must remember what you said today. Shen Dian looked at his female companion lecherously. His big hand wandered around her waist dishonestly. He then looked up at Huang Xiaoming and said straightforwardly, I'll pay 15,000 mid-grade spiritual crystals. Lu Outyan's face darkened. This slap was hard for him to accept. He had just promised to buy this level 4 spiritual sword set for Yimengshi. Now, someone came to cause trouble. Chapter 89. Shen Dian had raised the price so much in one go that it far exceeded the price of the 4th grade spiritual sword set. The auction had entered the climax earlier than expected. I bid 18,000 mid-grade spiritual stones. Lu Outyan pondered for a moment and said in a deep voice. 20,000. Shen Dian looked at Lu Outyan's private room with disdain and quickly called out a high price. His Shen family's wealth was comparable to a country's. The reason he stayed in the hall was to flaunt his wealth. 22,000, 25,000. The nouveau riche did not use spiritual stones as rations and went straight to the point. Lu Outyan's face darkened. The empire's royal prestige could not be disgraced. How could he let a family with only money and no strength humiliate him? The Shen family's guards were powerful, but the Shen family's own strength was very weak. There had not been a decent genius in hundreds of years. He disdained and respected such a family. Yi Qinghan shook his head and stopped Lu Outyan from continuing to bid. It was unwise to waste a large number of spiritual stones just for face. Forget it, I appreciate your kindness. This 4th grade spiritual sword set is not worth that much. Besides, I don't need such things to change Meng Shi's physique. Yi Qinghan said lightly. It's okay. I can give this spiritual sword set to Meng Shi. I don't need this spirit gathering formation. Qin Shi Huang obediently took out the metal sword box on his back and handed it to Yimengshi. Yimengshi took out the spiritual sword and was reluctant to part with it. Yi Qinghan did not stop her. After all, the zither immortal crimson demon physique was already very terrifying. There was no need for a fourth-grade spiritual sword set to change her physique. Jian Qinshue's eyes glowed, but it quickly disappeared. She had benefited a lot from following Yi Qinghan these days. If Yi Qinghan gave her something else, she would feel bad. Is there anyone offering a higher price? If not, this fourth-grade spiritual sword set will belong to Master Shen. Huang Xiaoming smiled and was very satisfied with the price. In the end, the spiritual sword set's ownership was settled. Shen Dian got it and got the beauty. This caused some people to be envious and jealous. The second treasure is the fourth-grade demon-slaying green dragon saber. It was the weapon of the strongest person in Owl Falling Star, the Green Dragon Taoist. The Green Dragon Taoist was a second-step powerhouse in the Fate Palace. This monster-slaying azure dragon saber still contained Daoist Qing Long's murderous aura. It could kill enemies and intimidate all beasts and spirits. The starting price is 50,000 middle spiritual crystals. Everyone on Owl Falling Star knew about the Azure Dragon Taoist Master. He was in existence with great merit. He guarded the Demon Valley continent and killed countless ferocious beasts of the Demon Valley continent. He had brought great calamities to Owl Falling Star several times. If he had not beaten the ferocious beasts of the Demon Valley continent to the point where they could not raise their heads, Owl Falling Star might have been even more broken. The Owl Fall Star was divided into two continents. One was called the Demon Valley, and the other was called the Owl Fall continent. Humans naturally lived on the Owl Fall continent. The powerful beasts lived on the Demon Valley continent, separated by the Demon Valley mountain range. With this as the boundary, they had been separated for thousands of years. So it's the Green Dragon Taoist's demon-slaying green dragon saber. This weapon is so vicious that it's comparable to an ordinary fifth-grade saber. It's very difficult for people to use it. That's right. I heard that after the Azure Dragon founder died in battle, this blade went through 4 owners. In the end, all of them died violently and their corpses were left in the wilderness. It was as if there was a curse. Selling it at such a high price, who would buy it? There was a lot of discussion. They all felt that the seller of this weapon was too expensive. Dear Madam Auctioneer, please take out the demon-slaying green dragon saber for us to admire. After all, it's the saber of our Owl Falling Star's hero. If it's authentic and no one is willing to sell it, I'm willing to pay 50,000 for it to be my collection. Shen Dian said arrogantly. A mid-grade green dragon saber that was worth 50,000. He wanted to collect it just like that. As expected of the Shen family's patriarch who was as rich as a country. Yi Qinghan's eyes lit up. He could not help but be interested in this saber. His heavy manic saber was too eye-catching. Outside of Owl Falling Star, anyone with a bit of knowledge could recognize it. If the demon-slaying green dragon saber was good, he could consider using it. This saber's vicious aura is too strong. Everyone, be careful. Huang Xiaoming's face was solemn. She turned sideways and gestured for 4 bare-chested men behind her to carry a 2-meter-long black iron box onto the auction stage. The iron box was sealed by an array, but it still exuded a cold and ruthless aura that made people shudder. Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes and stared at the iron box. Looking at the strenuous appearance of these people, he estimated that the weight of this saber should be about the same as the heavy manic saber, or maybe even heavier. Open the seal. Huang Xiaoming hid far away. Her physical body could not withstand the vicious aura of the green dragon saber. Everyone, back off. A powerful expert of the first step of the Grotto Heaven realm walked out from the backstage of the auction house and shattered the seal outside the iron box with one palm. Boom, whoosh, a gloomy and terrifying cold aura rushed out, breaking through the dome of the auction house and shooting straight into the sky. The ruthless killing intent swept out in all directions and surged out. The people in the hall retreated one after another, their faces pale. Those of the Bitter Sea realm who were slightly weaker coughed up blood and were sent flying. Hundreds of existences of the 8th star of the Bitter Sea realm and above knelt on the ground, as if they were facing an ancient demon, unable to resist. The expert of the Grotto Heaven realm also did not feel good. His expression changed slightly, and he mobilized the true chi around his body to protect his soul. He took 3 steps back before he could stabilize himself. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed, staring at the iron box, his fingertips constantly tapping on the table to ease the excitement in his heart. This saber is not a 4th-grade spirit saber. Even if it was soaked in the blood of countless fierce beasts, it would not be so fierce. And this saber is clearly suppressed by something, otherwise it would be even more terrifying. Yi Qinghan instantly determined that this was not the demon-slaying green dragon saber. Everyone, do you still want to see the true body of the saber? Huang Xiaoming's face was pale. Even if she hid far away, she was still frightened by the cold aura. Look! A hoarse voice exploded in everyone's ears like a clap of thunder, but no one could tell where it came from. Lu Outyan glanced at Yi Qinghan. He did not know that Yi Qinghan used a saber, but he could see that Yi Qinghan was very nervous at the moment, as if he was looking forward to something. He could give me the 5th-grade Great Reincarnation Sword technique so casually, would he care about this 4th-grade spirit saber? Lu Outyan secretly said to himself, but did not ask. A strong evil aura filled the auction hall. Some people were so shocked that their lips were dry, and their eyes were dull. They were all frightened by the Azure Dragon Taoist's weapon, and did not realize that the power of this saber was far beyond other 4th-grade spirit sabers. Even if this 4th-grade Azure Dragon saber had experienced countless battles, it would not have such an aura. The expert of the Grotto Heaven realm opened the iron box from the side, and an arrogant aura burst out, as if it had experienced thousands of years. The dark saber emitted a cold light, and the shape of the saber was indeed a bit like a dragon. Its aura was restrained, and it was more eye-catching when it was not hidden. It was very ordinary. Other than the gloomy evil aura and the aura of vicissitudes, it was indeed very similar to a 4th-grade spirit saber. However, many people attributed the aura of this saber to the demonic beasts that the Azure Dragon Taoist had killed in the Demon Valley, and did not think too much about it. Yi Qinghan stared at the saber hilt, which was about half a meter long. It was dim without any light, and there was nothing special about it. The saber hilt emitted a faint pressure, which was restrained and pure. Without a strong soul spirit, one would not be able to sense it. Bone of a demonic dragon. The saber hilt is made from the bone of a demonic dragon. This saber is an ancient war weapon, the demonic dragon saber. It might be above the 6th grade. This saber is well concealed by the outer packaging, which is why people misunderstood it as a 4th-grade spirit saber. Yi Qinghan's heartbeat sped up, but his appearance was still calm. Qin Shihuang lightly plucked a string, and the room was unexpectedly silent. However, Yi Qinghan's body trembled, and his chaotic soul gradually calmed down. Yi Qinghan looked at Qin Shihuang and pulled her to his side. He whispered, "Can you feel the internal structure of the saber hilt? I can't see through it, but I can feel a very strong pressure from the inside of the saber hilt. It should not be made of ordinary materials. I can feel that it is full of vitality, like the bones of some ancient creatures." Qin Shihuang said softly. Yi Qinghan nodded. With Qin Shihuang's confirmation, it seemed like his soul spirit was not wrong. This was indeed the ancient demonic dragon saber. If this saber was auctioned in the Xiaolong region, not to mention 50,000 middle-grade spirit saber, even 500,000 high-grade spirit saber wouldn't be able to buy it. It might even cause supreme experts to fight over it. Brother Yi is interested in this saber. Lu Outyan wanted to do Yi Qinghan a favor and decided to buy it for 50,000 spirit saber for him. Yes, I will buy it. If it is not enough, you can lend it to me. I will compensate you with other things. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan's words were reasonable because Lu Ning was also interested in this saber. Although she couldn't tell what grade the saber was, she knew that it was not ordinary. Just as everyone was feeling disgusted, an old man walked out from the back of the auction house and sealed the metal box with force. He used an array to seal the box and brought it to the back. The auction starts now. 50,000 middle-grade spirit saber. Each bid must not be lower than 1,000 middle-grade spirit saber. Huang Xiaoming squeezed out a smile and said slowly. I will keep it. I will pay 50,000 middle-grade spirit saber to comfort the Qin Long Taoist spirit in heaven. Shen Jian pretended to be dignified and said in a deep voice. Chapter 90. Shen Jian pretended to be elegant, making people think that he was in awe of his ancestors. He took the initiative to bid, but he didn't know that he was just trying to attract attention. Lu Ning sat up straight and looked down at the auction house. She said coldly, I bid 100,000 mid-grade. The clear and cold voice resounded in the auction house, silencing it instantly. Even Shen Jian was stunned. He thought that no one would bid, but someone suddenly jumped out and doubled the price. Shen Jian looked at the fourth floor, but he couldn't see anyone. He only knew that it was a young woman with a pleasant voice. In terms of wealth, Shen Jian had never lost. I bid 150,000 mid-grade. Shen Jian shouted without hesitation. He didn't know who he was talking to. The crowd couldn't help but gasp. 150,000 mid-grade for a useless saber. She really didn't treat spiritual crystals as money. 200,000 mid-grade. The third voice for the saber appeared, and the bidding was just as crazy. It increased the price by 50,000 at once. Shen Jian was rich, but he was a little stupid. He didn't know what was on the fourth floor. His female companion wasn't stupid. She whispered in his ear, the Fate Palace mirror is on the fourth floor. Don't provoke it. The Fate Palace mirror was an ancestor of the founding emperor of a country. Their identity, status, and strength could crush the Shen family 10 times over. Fate Palace mirror. Shen Jian trembled. There were only a few of them on Owlfall planet. If he offended them, no amount of spiritual crystals would be enough to invite someone of the same level to fight with a Fate Palace mirror. Shen Jian gave up immediately, but Lu Ning wouldn't. Lu Ning raised the price and attracted the attention of the old monsters. They looked at each other and began to talk secretly. A direct descendant from a fifth-rank family should have good taste. Is the Demon Slayer Green Dragon Saber so attractive that she's fighting so crazily for it? Do you have any clues? Ancient Lulan founding ancestor Lu Patian frowned and asked. No, this is indeed the Azure Dragon Saber of the Azure Dragon founder. There's nothing special about it. It weighs more than 1,000 pounds and is suitable for a body refiner like the Azure Dragon founder. It's already difficult for us to hold it, why would we need such a saber? Dongfang Yu of the Eastern Empire shook his head. He felt that this saber wasn't worth so much and wasn't prepared to sell it. Out of the 5 Fate Palaces, 2 of them had already expressed their stance. Lu Ning and Yi Qinghan had fought it out for 500,000 mid-grade Fate Palaces. The one bidding on the second floor seems to be the royal family of Lu Lan, right? Brother Lu, you, Lu Lan, are also interested in this saber. The first governor of the state capital of Qing, Tang Sheng, looked at the room on the second floor where Lu Patian was fighting with Lu Ning. He was suspicious of Lu Patian. While the 5 Fate Palace realm warriors were discussing, Lu Ning and Yi Qinghan were in a heated battle. However, the amount and speed of the bids were decreasing. They were all guessing how much the other party was willing to pay for the saber. Lu Ning stood up slowly and walked to the corridor. She looked down at the second floor and found the room that was bidding. She saw Yi Qinghan's side profile from the window and realized that Yi Qinghan was also looking at her. His eyes were as calm as still water. She couldn't help but feel surprised when he looked at her without the disgust between the bidders. He's a stranger. I've never seen him before. He doesn't have any hostility towards me, but why can't I feel any hostility towards him? Lu Ning whispered to herself. Looking at his side profile, her heart began to beat faster. No matter how much she tampered with her memories, she couldn't change the throbbing in the depths of her soul. Although Lu Ning had forgotten about Yi Qinghan, she couldn't forget the persistence of her heart. 600,000. Yi Qinghan's voice was low as he continued to raise the price. Lu Ning hesitated for a moment before shouting out a higher price. She raised the price to 620,000. Can he also discover the wonders of this saber? He's willing to raise the price so high. Judging from his attitude, he's determined to get it. Lu Ning was ready to let go and do Yi Qinghan a favor. 630,000. Yi Qinghan raised the price without hesitation. Lu Ning was silent for a moment and stopped raising the price. Just when everyone thought that the dust had settled, a rough and old voice resounded in the auction house. I'll bid 650,000. Tang Xing finally broke the silence and called out the highest price. Huang Xiaoming was shocked. The price of 630,000 had exceeded her expectations. She didn't expect a third person to bid for the saber. Moreover, it was a Fate Palace realm. Would Lu Ning give up? 670,000. Lu Ning raised the price without hesitation. 680,000. For the powerhouses and Lu Ning, this amount of spiritual crystals was a lot, but it wasn't enough to hurt their wallets. 690,000, 700,000. Dongfang Yu also raised the price. A fourth person joined in the bidding frenzy. Spiritual crystals were nothing. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists. He didn't expect these old monsters to make a move and raise the price so high. Even if he invested all the 500,000 he borrowed from Lu Outyan, it still wouldn't be enough. Brother Yi, why do you insist on this saber? In my opinion, the price of this saber has already been raised to a very high position. It's not worth it. Lu Outyan looked at the old monsters joining in the bidding and frowned. You don't have to worry about that. Just tell me how many spiritual crystals you can borrow. I'll compensate you with rank 5 martial arts techniques. Attack type, speed type, defense type. Pick whatever you want. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. These rank 5 martial arts techniques couldn't be sold and he didn't dare to sell them. He could only trade them with Lu Outyan privately. Although the price was low, it was safe. I can withdraw 800,000. Any more and it will cause a deficit in the Lulan treasury. I can't promise any more. Lu Outyan was helpless. With these old monsters raising the price, 800,000 might not be enough. 800,000, Yi Qinghan frowned. He had less than 200,000. With the low-grade spiritual crystals, he could round it up to 1 million. Whether he could buy the ancient devil dragon saber or not depended on this 1 million mid-grade spiritual crystals. Yi Qinghan shouted. The entire auction house fell silent. Even the Fate Palace elites couldn't help but gasp. 1 million was equivalent to the annual income of an ancient country. Even the ancient Lulan kingdom had to consider for a long time to use such a large amount of money. The Fate Palace realm elites didn't lack money, but money shouldn't be squandered like this. Moreover, they only thought that the saber's value might be high because of Yi Qinghan and Lu Ning's crazy bidding. They wanted to buy it and study it. They could accept a low price, but if the price was too high, wouldn't they go crazy if they bought a piece of junk? Dongfang Yu, Tang Sheng, and the rest looked at Lu Patian, trying to figure out who was in the private room of ancient Lulan. Brother Lu, are you still trying to hide it? Even the emperor of the Lulan kingdom would have to think about it for a long time, right? Dongfang Yu asked. I really don't know. If I knew there was something fishy about this saber, would I still be here? I would have bid for it long ago, Lu Patian replied helplessly. Lu Ning clenched her fists. 1 million mid-grade spiritual crystals was not a small amount. The Lu family wasn't a mining company. Moreover, she was here for the ancient dragon bone. She only thought that there was something fishy about the saber and that it might be worth a lot, but she didn't know its true value. If she was wrong and spent 1 million mid-grade spiritual crystals to buy a grade for combat saber back to the Xiaolong region, she would be a laughingstock. However, she wasn't willing to give up just like that. She looked at the old monsters behind her and wanted to see what they thought. 1 million isn't a small amount. We have to see if the bidder has so many spiritual crystals. If he doesn't, wouldn't we be cheated? Tang Sheng looked at Huang Xiaomeng on the stage and asked her to check if Yi Qinghan's assets could support his bid. The auction house couldn't refuse a request from a Fate Palace realm expert to check the amount of money the bidder had. However, they had to be careful when it came to such a large amount of money. Alright, I'll check it myself. The auction is temporarily suspended. Please keep quiet, Huang Xiaomeng stared at the crowd and said in a low voice. The crowd was very respectful. Even if they agreed, they were very quiet. However, many of them were guessing the identity of the person in the private room on the second floor. That person was obviously not Lu Outyen. It was impossible for Lu Outyen to pay such a high price for a saber. Huang Xiaomeng was dressed in a white robe. She leaped into the air and appeared on the second floor at the door of Yi Qinghan's private room. Knock knock, after 2 crisp knocks on the door, Huang Xiaomeng said calmly, the auction house would like to check if you have sufficient funds. Please open the door for verification. Please forgive us if we've disturbed you. Lu Outyen stood up leisurely. His strong body emitted a faint royal aura. He waved his hand and opened the door. Looking at the peerless rank 5 auctioneer, he performed the royal etiquette and said calmly, Welcome, Fairy Huang. Huang Xiaomeng was stunned when she saw Lu Outyen. When she stepped into the room, she saw a bunch of strangers in the room. They weren't important figures of the royal family. When she saw Yi Qinghan, she was shocked by the vicissitudes of life on his body. When she saw Qin Shi Huang and Jian Qinxue, her eyes were filled with shock. Jian Qinxue was as cold as ice and as pure as a lily. She was extremely noble. As for Qin Shi Huang, Huang Xiaomeng felt that she lacked vocabulary. A rank 5 auctioneer with a glib tongue could turn black into white. However, she didn't know how to describe Qin Shi Huang. When she looked at Yi Mengxi, her eyes flashed and she took 3 steps back. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. A 5-year-old bidder sea realm expert. Oh my God, am I seeing things? Huang Xiaomeng was extremely shocked. She couldn't understand why she had heard of such a combination before. Hi, beautiful sister. Yi Mengxi raised her small hand and waved, leaving Huang Xiaomeng completely speechless. Cough cough, little sister, hello. Huang Xiaomeng took a deep breath and adjusted her state of mind. She looked at Yi Qinghan again and asked seriously, Sir, are you the one who bid 1 million middle grade? Yes, this Qian Kun ring has 190,000 middle grade pieces. Low grade and some elixirs can be exchanged for 10,000 middle grade pieces. The Lulan Crown Prince will lend me 800,000 middle grade pieces, which is 1 million. You can check it out. Yi Qinghan threw the Qian Kun ring to Huang Xiaomeng and said calmly. That's right, I will lend him 800,000 middle grade pieces with my identity as the Lulan Crown Prince. If Yi Qinghan can't take out 1 million middle grade pieces, I'm willing to buy the Azure Dragon Saber for 1 million middle grade pieces. Lu Outyen gritted his teeth and said. Chapter 91. The auction house was eerily quiet. Everyone lifted their heads to look at the second floor, waiting for Huang Xiaomeng to appear. They wanted to know if someone was willing to bid 1,000,000 mid-grade spirit stones for the Demon Slayer Azure Dragon Saber. Shen Dian had completely given up. He wanted to buy the Azure Dragon Saber purely for his collection and to flaunt his status. He would never collect the ancient Devil Dragon Saber if he had to pay 1,000,000 for it. However, at this moment, some people had developed a strong interest in the Devil Dragon Saber. Zero Chen was one of them. He was the #1 person among the younger generation and was titled the Ancient Sword King. He wielded the broken dragon saber and had a murderous aura that could withstand the murderous aura of the Devil Dragon Saber. Most importantly, he knew that the bidder was Yi Qinghan. Subconsciously, he felt that the Azure Dragon Saber might be worth a lot and decided to take a gamble. However, Zero Chen and the others might not be the ones who were most interested in the saber. At the corner of the hall, there was a man who was about 1.8 meters tall. He wore a black battle robe and a bamboo hat that covered his waist. He had a cold aura, like a saber that was in deep slumber. Once it was awakened, it would be enough to shatter the mountains and shatter the rivers. He had been sizing up the ancient Devil Dragon Saber from the moment it appeared. He had not participated in the bidding until now, but that did not mean that he would remain silent. Now, all they had to do was wait for Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan was the fiercest when it came to bidding. Once he ran out of money, the ancient demon dragon saber would drop back to 50,000 and bid again. As for Yi Qinghan, he would be treated as a prop to deliberately raise the price. He would then be suppressed by the auction house. Do you really have that many spiritual crystals? Are you kidding us? I don't think so. The people in the private room are either rich or respectable. No one is stupid. If you don't have the money after bidding such a high price, the entire Owl Falling Star would be offended. I don't understand. This saber has such a strong murderous aura and it weighs more than 500 kilograms. Only a Life Palace Realm powerhouse can use it, right? Moreover, even a Life Palace Realm powerhouse can't wield such a weapon. It's not worth that much. Many people were speechless by the price of the Azure Dragon Saber and discussed it softly. In the private room on the second floor, Huang Xiaomeng sorted out all of Yi Qinghan's finances. Knowing that he only had 1,000,000 yuan left, she reminded him, "Young Master Yi, if anyone raises the price again, you can't bid anymore. Otherwise, the auction house may take compulsory measures against you. Hold on. You are a grade 5 auctioneer. Help me appraise a peak grade 4 offensive secret technique. Give me a price, and I will continue to raise the price. If you don't have the money, then use a grade 4 secret technique," Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. He was determined to obtain the Devil Dragon Saber. Top rank 4. A shocked expression finally appeared on Huang Xiaomeng's calm face. If it was a grade 4 secret skill, the starting price would be more than 1,000,000 mid-grade. After all, the secret skills cultivated by the powerful Life Palace level powerhouses were only at the intermediate or beginner grade 4. So far, the highest level secret skill on the Owlfall planet was an advanced grade 4 secret skill. Mr. Yi, are you sure you have a top grade 4 secret technique? Are you sure you want to sell it? Huang Xiaomeng asked. Black Moon Technique, Mystic Bone Dao Heart, Moon Hook, Heaven Dragon and Earth Tiger, Break Martial 8 Desolates. Borrow the Black Moon's yin and yang forces to reach the 9 Serenities and Sea of Qi. Once the Black Moon is unleashed, the enemy will be injured from 1,000 miles away. Yi Qinghan whispered and explained the first part of the Black Moon technique. Every word shocked Huang Xiaomeng. Even if an ordinary person knew about this mental cultivation technique, they would find it difficult to understand. It was not a powerful secret technique at all. However, as a grade 5 auctioneer, how could Huang Xiaomeng not know a top grade 4 secret technique? Isn't the Black Moon technique the secret technique of the Shaolong region's grade 4 sect, the Black Moon sect thousands of years ago? Legend has it that it is a powerful martial technique that can allow one to enter the Tao Lord realm. Unfortunately, the Black Moon sect was uprooted overnight and the Black Moon technique was lost. Huang Xiaomeng was knowledgeable and asked in shock. Yes, it is indeed that secret technique. Appraise it and tell me how much it is worth, Yi Qinghan asked calmly. You are. Huang Xiaomeng was extremely shocked. The Black Moon technique had disappeared for thousands of years and now it had appeared in the hands of a young man. The value of this secret technique far exceeded that of the saber in her heart. Yi Qinghan had actually sold the Black Moon technique for the Demon Dragon saber. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Besides, I don't necessarily need to auction this secret technique. You just need to give me a starting price, Yi Qinghan interrupted Huang Xiaomeng's words and said coldly. A top grade 4 secret technique has never appeared in the history of Owl Falling Star, let alone auctioning it. However, it appeared in Xiaolong region and was auctioned for 50,000 upper spirit crystals, which is equivalent to 5 million middle spirit crystals. This kind of precious secret technique might be even more expensive in Xiaolong region, so the lowest price might be set at more than 4 million. Huang Xiaomeng clenched her fists. Her palms were sweaty and she was extremely excited. At this moment, she hoped that someone would bid again and force Yi Qinghan to auction off the Black Moon technique. Alright, I understand. Yi Qinghan nodded calmly, indicating that the auction could continue. Huang Xiaomeng's heart skipped a beat as she looked at Yi Qinghan's back. Her breasts rose and fell, and the translucent white robe set off her snow-white skin. I'd like to congratulate young master in advance for obtaining my favorite treasure. Supper is on me. Everyone, please do me the honor. I'll take my leave now. Huang Xiaomeng cupped her fists and said excitedly. Without waiting for Yi Qinghan and the others to reply, Huang Xiaomeng ran out of the room. Lu Outyan shrugged and smiled bitterly. I didn't expect to be treated by the supreme goddess of Owl Falling Star just because of Brother Yi. I'm afraid I'll be the envy of everyone tonight. Yi Qinghan smiled calmly, but his eyes swept across the black-clothed man at the corner of the hall. He was stunned when he saw him and muttered, Yi Lingyu. He's here too. Yi Lingyu was an emperor of the same generation as Lu Ning. He had mastered both the sword and the zither, and he was truly invincible among his peers. Back then, Yi Qinghan appreciated his talent and specially gave him some pointers, allowing him to surpass his peers in the sword Dao. He was almost on par with the older generation. Although this person's emotions are stable and he's using a bamboo hat to cover his excited face, it can't hide the fluctuation of his soul. He's also interested in the Devil Dragon Saber. Yi Qinghan frowned. He was extremely reluctant to raise the price, or else the Fate Palace realm cultivators would definitely fight for it. Huang Xiaomeng was like a hollow valley in the wind, ethereal and ethereal. She tapped the auction stage with the tip of her foot and turned around slowly, causing everyone's hearts to beat faster. I've already checked the number 7 private room. The VIP inside has enough spirit crystals to bid. Now, the price has reached 1 million spirit crystals. To be honest, it has already exceeded the price in Xiaomeng's heart. I just don't know if anyone else wants to continue bidding. If not, I'll announce the owner of the Devil Dragon Saber. Huang Xiaomeng's voice was like an aureole, crisp and pleasant. 1 million mid-grade spiritual crystals, going once. Is there anyone else who wants to continue bidding? Huang Xiaomeng's eyes swept across the entire auction hall. She realized that many people were extremely excited. A bid that exceeded 1 million would only appear once in many years. Dongfang Yu and the rest were discussing with each other through telepathy. How about we join forces to get the saber? If there's really a problem, we can discuss it. If there's no problem, we can sell it again. Tang Xing suggested. I'm afraid that if we increase the price, it'll exceed the bottom line. No one knows how much we'll get. Moreover, I don't think Lu Ning has any intention of giving up. Dongfang Yu hesitated. Let's set the base price at 1.5 million. On average, each person will only get 300,000. What do you think? Tang Sheng seemed to be determined to compete with Yi Qinghan for the Devil Dragon Saber. He was going to encourage the Fate Palace Realm cultivators to buy the Devil Dragon Saber together. Don't count me in. Room 7 belongs to my grandson. The people who are bidding must be closely related to the Lulan royal family. If I join forces with you, wouldn't I be scamming my own people? Lu Patian rejected Tang Sheng's suggestion. 1 million going twice. Are there any more bids? Huang Xiaomeng asked again. There was dead silence downstairs. Everyone was waiting. More people wanted to watch the fun. Even if they were not bidding, they were excited. As expected, Yi Lingyu could not take it anymore. His cold voice pierced through everyone's eardrums. I'll bid 1.03 million. Everyone was excited. They did not expect someone to come out of nowhere. It was not a Fate Palace Realm cultivator from the 4th floor, nor was it Lu Ning. It was a 4th competitor. Who is he? He didn't bid at first, but he's bidding over 1 million. He's not from the Owl Fall planet, so he must be from the Owl Dragon region. Perhaps he knew Lu Ning. Yi Qinghan was silent for a while. Before he could increase the price, Lu Ning had already bid 1.05 million. 1.07 million. Yi Lingyu said in a deep voice. Lu Ning looked down at the hall and saw Yi Lingyu. However, Yi Lingyu was covered by a bamboo hat and a black veil. She could not tell who he was. However, Yi Lingyu knew Lu Ning. He seemed to know her very well. He increased the price quickly to make her suspect that he would not compromise. That way, she would give up. Lu Ning was not a saber user and knew nothing about sabers. She was bidding based on her intuition. When the price exceeded what she could afford, she would naturally stop bidding. As expected, Lu Ning hesitated. 1.30 million. Tang Sheng had the support of Dongfang Yu and another Fate Palace Realm cultivator. He was going to bid 500,000 for the Devil Dragon Saber. His bid caused an uproar. Huang Xiaomeng was excited. She knew that Yi Qinghan would never give up. The saber could be sold for 1.5 million. It would break the record for the price of a single treasure on the Owl Fall planet. She was the one who set the record. Yi Lingyu hesitated for a while and bid again. 1.35 million. 1.70 million. Yi Qinghan was impatient. It was reasonable for Yi Lingyu to bid, but the old men on the 4th floor were gambling. They raised the price by so much. What a bastard. Wow. Oh my god. 1.70 million, and it's a mid-grade treasure. The Shen family only has 5 million mid-grade treasures. Fuck, he's too rich. He's too rich. I've learned what it means to be rich and overbearing. This guy is definitely not from the Owl Fall planet. He's probably from a big family in the Owl Fall region. Lulan is great. With such a rich family on the heaven ranking, ancient Lulan's status will rise. I'm afraid they'll surpass the other empires. Many people looked enviously at the 7th private room. Some female cultivators went crazy and began to move restlessly, hoping to attract Yi Qinghan's attention. Qin Ying's expression was ugly. He knew that Yi Qinghan had a lot of resources that were unimaginable. However, he lost this treasure bowl because he treated Qin Shi Huang badly. He could not help but feel annoyed. It was more disgusting than eating a fly. Qin Haoran's face was filled with viciousness and resentment. He whispered to Qin Ying, "Great-grandfather, since we've already fallen out with Yi Qinghan, why don't we annoy him a bit and raise the price by another 100,000? If we win the bid, we can use the saber to exchange for a better secret skill." Chapter 92. Qin Haoran didn't know what was good for him, so he instigated Qin Ning to make a move. However, Qin Ning wasn't stupid. Yi Qinghan was amenable to coaxing, but not coercion. Since Yi Qinghan dared to use this method on him, spending 2 million middle spirit crystals to buy a useless saber, wouldn't that destroy the Qin family? Shut up. If you dare to cause trouble again, I will expel you from the Qin family. Also, if you still want to inherit the Qin family, you will have to win your sister back and please her. Fight for the best interests of the Qin family. Otherwise, how can you inherit the Qin family? Qin Ning scolded coldly. Qin Haoran was not satisfied. He was asked to please a blind man. His strong self-esteem did not allow him to do so. However, the hall outside was in an uproar. Yi Qinghan increased the bid by hundreds of thousands of spiritual crystals, shocking everyone. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists. Yi Lingyu clenched his fists. He was unwilling to give up. He had come here for this saber. He had thought that he could buy it with 1,000,000 spirit crystals. He did not expect that he might not be able to get it even after using all the spirit crystals he had brought. His cold gaze swept past the 7th private room. An evil and cold light shot out from his eyes, and then he chose to give up. She did not know the value of the saber, so she had to give up. If the price exceeded 2 million spiritual crystals, it would hurt her foundation. She would have to give up the black dragon bone in the later stage. Tang Sheng had a strange expression on his face. He struggled and tried to instigate the crowd to increase the bid again. However, the other Life Palace Realm warriors were not willing to do so. They felt that it was too expensive just because someone else increased the bid. If they bought the wrong item, it would be too late to cry. Forget it, I won't participate. Who knows why he bought the saber? The evil aura is so strong that it can change the fate of a Grotto Heaven Realm warrior. Since the death of the Green Dragon founder, the owners of the Green Dragon saber have not lived for more than 30 years. It is not worth it to hurt oneself for this saber. Dong Fangyu shook his head and said. 7 million. Is there anyone else who wants to increase the bid? If not, I will announce the owner of the Green Dragon saber. Huang Xiaomeng said excitedly. Yi Qinghan is going to auction the Black Moon technique this time. The price might increase to 5 million. I suspect that some of the Fate Palace warriors might go bankrupt just to buy it. With this commission, I might be able to expand my career in the Xiaolong region. Huang Xiaomeng muttered to herself. Although Alfal belonged to Xiaolong region, it was just a small planet in a corner of Xiaolong region. Unless something big happened, Xiaolong region would never know that there was such a planet with life. It was Ashilja's greatest dream to leave this place. The hall was silent, but everyone's hearts were filled with anticipation. Their palms were sweaty. No one raised the price again. Yi Qinghan heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that Yi Lingyu had given up. As long as Yi Lingyu did not fight for the saber, Lu Ning would not fight for it as well. As for the old monsters at the Life Palace level, they would not risk their lives for the saber. Good. Since no one is bidding, I announce that the Azure Dragon saber belongs to the customer in private room number 7. Huang Xiaomeng was excited. She said to the Grotto Heaven Realm third step powerhouse behind her, bring the Azure Dragon saber to private room number 7. Huang Xiaomeng came to private room number 7 once again. As soon as she entered the room, she presented a jade slip and said excitedly, Mr. Yi, please engrave the Black Moon technique on this jade slip. I'll put it up for auction in the next round. This way, it will fetch a high price, but I'll take 10% of your profits. Yi Qinghan heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally obtained the Devil Dragon saber that he had been dreaming of. This saber was extremely important to him. Losing a 4th-grade secret technique was nothing. After taking the jade slip, Yi Qinghan engraved the memory of the Black Moon technique into the jade slip and handed it to Huang Xiaomeng. The auction house also sent the devil dragon saber up. A cold, evil aura permeated the air, trying to penetrate one's body. Even Lu Outyan was not used to the room's environment. Yi Qinghan casually slapped a few seals, completely sealing the iron box. Not a single bit of evil aura leaked out. After Huang Xiaomeng put away the jade slip, she returned to the auction stage. Her face was flushed with joy and she did not hide it at all. Everyone, let me tell you a piece of good news. The treasures in the next round of auction might be something that no one has expected, especially those from Fate Palace Realm and 4th grade organizations. Are you ready to go crazy? Huang Xiaomeng asked excitedly, trying to stir up the atmosphere. What's that? She actually used the word crazy. Is it even crazier than auctioning the Azure Dragon Saber? I don't know. Seeing how excited she is, I'm guessing that the treasures have really appeared. But we won't get a share. She already said that this is the craziness of 4th grade families and Fate Palace Realm powerhouses. As the crowd discussed, Huang Xiaomeng continued, the starting price of this treasure is 4 million spirit crystals. If you're not ready, you'd better get ready as soon as possible. If you miss out on this treasure, you might regret it for the rest of your life. When the Fate Palace Realm powerhouse on the 4th floor heard this, he was shocked. He knew that the Real treasure had appeared and was secretly glad that he did not waste a large amount of spirit crystals on the Azure Dragon Saber. Yi Lingyu's eyes, which were hidden under the bamboo hat, suddenly widened. A treasure that was worth more than 4 million middle spiritual crystals was either a top 4th grade or a 5th grade secret technique, or a 5th grade combat weapon. He did not expect to encounter such a good thing here. Ha ha ha, the person in private room number 7 must be mad. He spent 1.7 million mid-grade spirit crystals on a useless Azure Dragon Saber. Now that a better treasure has appeared, he must have run out of money to buy it. The Fate Palace Realm powerhouse on the 4th floor must be happy. A strong competitor has been eliminated. Many people were gloating. However, the Fate Palace Realm powerhouse was indeed glad that the person in private room number 7 was too overbearing. He increased the price as if it was water. He felt that spirit crystals were free goods. Of course, he would be happy to be eliminated. Yi Qinghan smiled. Using a top grade for secret skill to attract everyone's attention was the best choice. Now, let's auction another treasure to ease the atmosphere. I'm also very excited about the next treasure. Huang Xiaomeng smiled mischievously. She looked even more innocent, which made the men excited. Ha ha ha, I didn't know that the goddess has such a cute side. The 10 mid-grade spirit crystals were well spent. Everyone burst into laughter, especially the younger generation. Even the ancient Sword King was laughing. The next item is a spiritual fruit, a top grade for spiritual fruit. It's rumored that the demon god fruit can help monsters evolve quickly into high-level spiritual beasts. Huang Xiaomeng pulled at her clothes to ease her emotions and said excitedly, as we all know, monsters are divided into ferocious beasts and spirit beasts. They are divided into 9 grades, but the grades of monsters are not divided by strength, but by bloodline. A grade 8 divine dragon. Even if it's just a cub, it's still a high and mighty grade 8 spiritual beast. Powerful ferocious beasts have no intelligence. Even if they evolve to the Grotto Heaven realm, they're only grade 4 or grade 3. However, things are different with the demon god fruit. It can help a grade 3 ferocious beast evolve to grade 4 or even grade 5 in a short time. It can even develop their intelligence and turn them into spiritual pets with spirituality. If anyone with a monster as a spiritual pet can buy the demon god fruit, you'll instantly have a Grotto Heaven realm guardian. If you're lucky and it evolves to the Life Palace realm, congratulations. You'll be ranked among the top powerhouses in the mainland. Huang Xiaomeng's voice was melodious, gradually calming the crowd's frenzy. They were now very interested in the demon god fruit. In private room 7, Yi Qinghan frowned. He realized that the parrot had run away and was getting further and further away from the auction house. It meant that it had succeeded. How was Huang Xiaomeng going to auction the demon god fruit now that it had stolen it? She had introduced so much information about the demon god fruit but could not produce it. Was she not going to make a fool of herself? This incident might affect her glory as a 5th-grade auctioneer. She might be demoted to 4th grade as a result. That damn bitch bird, giving me so much trouble. The auction house will definitely be furious. Yi Qinghan muttered to himself helplessly. Lu Outyan was also very curious. The parrot had not returned since it went out. Could it have really succeeded? The powerhouses with ferocious beasts and spiritual pets all looked over, hoping to cultivate their spiritual pets into 4th grade or even 5th grade ferocious beasts. Once their bloodline evolved, it would only be a matter of time before they became spiritual beasts of the Grotto Heaven realm or Life Palace realm. Huang Xiaomeng looked at everyone's interest and nodded with satisfaction. She signaled the people behind her to bring the demon god fruit up. Soon, a powerhouse at the pinnacle of the Bitter Sea realm walked out from behind with a brocade box. Huang Xiaomeng smiled and took the brocade box. She carefully opened it and her expression changed. She almost threw the brocade box out. The crowd was stunned. They did not expect Huang Xiaomeng to change her expression so quickly. They could not help but be curious. Many people probed with their divine sense. The contents of the brocade box appeared in their consciousness. They could not help but laugh. Even the powerhouses at the Life Palace realm laughed. Huang Xiaomeng was stunned. She did not know what to do. How could such a low-level mistake appear in such an occasion? Was the auction house testing her? There was no demon god fruit in the brocade box. It was clearly a fruit core that had been gnawed clean. There was also a pile of bird poop in the box. Huang Xiaomeng suppressed her anger and closed the brocade box. She forced a smile on her ashen face and said, "Hee, I was just joking with everyone to lighten the mood. You were fooled by me too, right? Haha." Even Huang Xiaomeng herself felt that what she said was very fake. It was so fake that it made people's teeth drop. However, she could only say that to avoid embarrassment. However, the face of a beautiful woman was still very big. Even if she made such a big mistake, no one criticized her. At most, they laughed kindly to relieve Huang Xiaomeng's pressure. Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He was deeply impressed by the parrot's despicable behavior. Not only did it steal other people's treasures, it even put down a pile of bird poop to disgust the auction house. How much hatred did it have? How much hatred did it have? A powerhouse walked out from behind the auction house and whispered into Huang Xiaomeng's ear. His face turned pale and he took the brocade box away. "Everyone, please calm down. Regarding the treasure of the demon god fruit, the auction house will give everyone an explanation. Now, let's begin the auction for the next item. Top grade for secret skill. Dark Moon Technique. The starting price is 4 million spirit crystals." Huang Xiaomeng was extremely nervous. Her palms were sweaty. She stared at the Life Palace realm powerhouses in the hall and on the 4th floor, hoping that they would resonate and respond. Chapter 93. Top-level 4th grade secret skill. The Dark Moon Technique. A low chant shook the auction house. A few powerful Fate Palace powerhouses stood up excitedly. Their wrinkled faces were finally flushed, as if they had finally seen hope after a long drought. Due to their cultivation techniques, these old men would stop at the 4th step of the Fate Palace realm. They would never be able to reach the Tao Master level, which meant that they could only live up to 500 years old. 500 years might seem like a long time, but for a Fate Palace realm cultivator, a single seclusion would take up to 10 years or even decades. Those who could enter the Fate Palace realm were all over 400 years old. Not everyone was like Yi Qinghan, who broke through to the Dao Master level and became a Grand Marshal honored warrior in just 500 years. The Dark Moon technique was the last straw for these Fate Palace realm cultivators to reach the Dao Master level and extend their lives. How could they not be excited? Lu Patian and the rest trembled as their fingers and legs trembled. They stared at Huang Xiaomeng, afraid that she was joking again. Xiaomeng, us old guys have weak hearts. It's fine if you joke about the demon god fruit, but please don't joke about this matter. Otherwise, us old guys will get angry. Lu Patian stared at Huang Xiaomeng and pretended to be calm as he spoke. That's right. It's okay to joke about the demonic god fruit, but you can't joke about the top-level 4th grade secret skill. Are you sure it's the top-level 4th grade secret skill, the Dark Moon technique? Tang Sheng asked nervously. That was just a small mistake. I'm a 5th grade auctioneer. How can I joke about such an important matter? Huang Xiaomeng clenched her fists and was furious. She hated the bastard who ate the demonic god fruit. The demonic god fruit incident would be an indelible blemish in her auction career. If the Auctioneer Association knew about it, it would affect her auction rank. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. This parrot was such a scammer. A 5th grade auctioneer had a high status in the Shaolong region, but he had been scammed by this parrot. Huang Xiaomeng's reputation took a huge hit. Despite her repeated promises, the Fate Palace realm cultivators were still doubtful. After all, a top-level 4th grade secret skill was rare, especially on this small planet. Who would sell such a secret skill? I promise that if it's not the complete Dark Moon technique, I'll compensate you double for your loss. Huang Xiaomeng's aura turned cold. Her upper rank 5 aura instantly enveloped the auction hall, silencing the crowd. With this promise, the Life Palace powerhouses, Grade 4 clans, and dynasty forces began to get restless. Many clans and sects that were on good terms with each other began to form secret alliances, preparing to seize the treasure together. The starting bid is 4 million spirit crystals. If no one bids, the Dark Moon technique will be auctioned off at a price of 4 million middle spirit crystals. Huang Xiaomeng's voice was low as she scanned the crowd. I bid 4 million middle spiritual crystals. Lu Patian suddenly shouted, breaking the clamor in the hall. Lu Ning took a deep breath. She was considering whether she should choose the top 4th grade secret technique or the ancient dragon bone. Being a 5th grade family did not mean that they did not care about top 4th grade secret techniques, especially the Mystic Moon technique. In the past, the Mystic Moon sect had relied on this secret technique to dominate the Falling Star sect for thousands of years. If it were not for the fact that they were uprooted by a mysterious powerhouse, they would definitely have the opportunity to become a top 5th grade force. The Dongfang dynasty bids for 1,500,000 middle spiritual crystals. Dongfang Yu shouted excitedly. 5 million. Lu Ning understood the value of the Black Moon technique. If she could get it, the Lu clan's strength would increase, 5,300,000 middle spiritual crystals. An old Life Palace realm cultivator who had been silent at the corner of the 4th floor made his first bid. It was frighteningly high. In private room number 7, Qin Shihuang trembled and his face turned red. He finally understood how much Yi Qinghan had paid for him to buy the 5th grade secret technique. He also understood how much Yi Qinghan cared about him and how much he loved him. The Qin Emperor tugged at Yi Qinghan's clothes with his small hands and looked at Yi Qinghan respectfully. He said gently, "Thank you, master." Yi Qinghan smiled and patted Qin Shihuang's head. "What are you thanking me for? You're my disciple. If I don't protect you, who will? Don't take it to heart. In the future, you'll understand that a 5th grade secret technique is nothing. You're destined to step on the 9 heavens and look down on everyone. Yes, I won't let you down, master." A warm current gushed out from the bottom of the Qin Emperor's cold heart, and a bright light suddenly appeared in the gloomy world, illuminating his heart. His face became radiant, and the birthmark on his palm became more attractive. In the end, he couldn't control himself and held Yi Qinghan's large hand. Yi Qinghan used his ethereal force to move Qin Shihuang's arm, helping to suppress the ancient Guqin's agitation. Outside the private room, the atmosphere had reached its climax. Everyone was excited, as if they were the ones who were bidding. The price kept rising until it reached 6 million mid-spirit crystals, making Yi Qinghan a millionaire. He had entered the ranks of the rich. The Black Moon technique was related to the lifespan of many Life Palace realm cultivators. No one was willing to give it up. As more and more people joined forces, the price exceeded Yi Qinghan's estimate. Tang Sheng and Dong Fangyu were unwilling to give up, so they decided to join forces. Lu Potion's face was ferocious. Ancient Lulan was not a tycoon. When the price reached 5 million middle spiritual crystals, they were already on the verge of bankruptcy. However, how could he give up the last chance to lift his lifespan? In 30 years, my lifespan will come. I've been cultivating for 500 years. Am I going to turn into a pile of dirt? I can't accept this. Lu Patian glanced at the two Life Palace realm cultivators behind him. Their expressions were the same as his. No one was willing to give up. In private room number 7, Lu Aotian's face was solemn. His grand elder was bidding crazily outside. It had reached the limit of what ancient Lulan could afford. If he continued bidding, ancient Lulan would be finished once the deal was struck. Brother Yi, can I remind the Grand Elder not to participate in the auction? Lulan can't die. Otherwise, hundreds of millions of people will be involved in the war. Lu Aotian pleaded. Do as you see fit. Just don't expose me. Yi Qinghan thought for a moment and nodded. Thank you, Brother Yi. I'll repay your kindness 100-fold in the future. Lu Aotian was thrilled. He rushed out of the private room and ran to the 4th floor. On the 4th floor, Lu Ning took a deep breath. 6 million was more than the spiritual crystals she had brought. If she wanted to buy it again, she would have to borrow money. Yi Lingyu took the initiative to go to the 4th floor. Just as the staff of the auction house was about to stop him, a golden light flashed in his hand. A gold medallion appeared in his hand. It was engraved with the words, Zither-breaking sword. The staff of the auction house bowed and let him pass. The gold medallion was the symbol of an imperial lord. Every imperial lord was famous in the Xiaolong region. He was truly invincible among those of the same level. Yi Lingyu moved like a sharp sword piercing through the air. His black robe fluttered, startling Lu Ning. Yi Lingyu. Are you ashamed of yourself? Why are you dressed like that? Lu Ning was speechless. Cut the crap. I don't think the Lu family has a top grade for secret skill, right? Let's work together to get this secret skill and split it when we return to the Xiaolong region. What do you think? Yi Lingyu said coldly. How many spiritual crystals did you bring? Lu Ning frowned. 2 million mid-grade spiritual crystals. I'm here for the saber. Unfortunately, I met someone who knows the value of the saber. It's futile to increase the price, so I gave up. Yi Lingyu said lightly. I brought 6 million spiritual crystals. If I buy it, how do we split it? Lu Ning asked. You want the Dark Moon technique and I want the Azure Dragon saber. Yi Lingyu said without hesitation. Lu Ning was shocked. Seeing Yi Lingyu's firm tone, she knew that he was going to snatch it. Okay, I'll try my best. Lu Ning thought for a moment and said. After the two of them agreed, the price outside had risen to 6,300,000 spiritual crystals. The Fate Palace realm warriors looked ferocious. None of them were willing to give up. Lu Aotian went to the hall on the 4th floor and respectfully stood in front of Lu Patian. He twisted his voice and transmitted it into Lu Potion's mind. Ancestor, I accidentally obtained a martial skill that is not inferior to the Dark Moon technique. Ancestor, please let go of the Dark Moon technique. Lu Outyan said in a deep voice. Lu Patian stared at Lu Outyan. His eyes were like the eyes of an eagle. They were captivating and his heart was beating wildly. What did you say? When did you get it? Lu Patian was surprised and overjoyed. Patriarch, this isn't the right place. Once the auction is over, Proud Heaven will definitely give you a satisfactory answer. Lu Outyan went downstairs and Lu Patian withdrew from the bidding. The Fate Palace Realm warriors were confused and surprised. After all, one less person would reduce the pressure. As soon as Lu Patian withdrew from the bidding, the 4 Fate Palace Realm warriors joined forces to fight against Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu. The 2 juniors would only have 8 million spiritual crystals at most. How could they compete with the 4 Fate Palace Realm warriors? Moreover, the Dark Moon technique was their life. They had never thought of letting go. When the price rose to 8 million spiritual crystals, Lu Ning had to give up. 8 million spiritual crystals was a huge number. Even if the price was split evenly, a Fate Palace Realm warrior would pay 2 million spiritual crystals. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly. After deducting the 8 million spiritual crystals from the 8 million spiritual crystals and the 1,700,000 spiritual crystals, he was left with 5 million spiritual crystals. He still had 200,000 spiritual crystals. With the record of 8 million, Huang Xiaoming's expression finally looked better. She handed over the Black Moon Technique secret technique jade slip to Tang Sheng and the others, then handed over the spirit crystals to Yi Qinghan. Congratulations, Mr. Yi. With such a high price, it seems like you should treat me to supper tonight. Huang Xiaoming entered the private room and handed over a few Qianquan rings. She looked at Yi Qinghan. Her face was flushed and her eyes sparkled like sparkling jewels. Yi Qinghan took the Qianquan rings and glanced at them. The spiritual crystals were piled up like a mountain. There were about 5,670,000 spiritual crystals. He did not count them and nodded. Thank you, Lady Huang. I don't have time for supper. Here are 10,000 spiritual crystals. Please accept them as my treat. Huang Xiaoming was speechless. Lu Outyan was also speechless. Huang Xiaoming was a 5th-grade auctioneer. Although she was not the most beautiful woman in the world, she could still be considered a peerless beauty. He took the initiative to accompany her for supper but was rejected. He even suspected that there was something wrong with Yi Qinghan's sexual orientation. Qin Huang saw Yi Qinghan's rejection and smiled faintly. Perhaps she and Jian Qinxue were the only ones who were happy. If the parrot were here, it would definitely mock Yi Qinghan again. Chapter 94. Huang Xiaoming looked at the indifferent Yi Qinghan and her mouth twitched. She snorted and glared at Yi Qinghan with dissatisfaction before turning to leave. Just as she reached the door, she turned back to grab the universe ring and put it away. 10,000 mid-grade crystals. It would be a waste if he didn't take it. A rank 5 auctioneer was also short on money. Idiot. Huang Xiaoming scolded and left again. Brother, such a beauty asked you out and you didn't even go. Do you like this big brother? Yi Mengshi asked curiously. Cough, cough. Lu Outyan spat out the spiritual tea he just drank. He looked at the little girl speechlessly and pretended to be angry. What does a child know? I'm serious about liking women. As for your brother. Yi Qinghan snorted. Lu Outyan smiled without saying anything. Master likes women. Mengshi, don't talk nonsense. Qin Shihuang gently explained for Yi Qinghan. That might not be the case. Jian Qinxue was dissatisfied. A beauty like her was standing here, and he didn't even say anything. It would be strange if he liked women. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly and shook his head. Stop fooling around. We're watching the auction now. If there's anything you like, just bid. It's my treat. That's more like it. Yi Mengxi and Jian Qinxue said in unison. Qin Shi covered his mouth and smiled. The warmth in the room made Lu Outyan's heart throb. Such a family environment was impossible for the royal family. The princes were always scheming against each other and couldn't wait to kill each other. The auction outside continued. The treasures that appeared were very ordinary and didn't attract Yi Qinghan's attention. However, Jian Qinxue bought 12 rank 4 blood spirit pills. The total price was 30,000 mid-grade crystals. Of course, Yi Qinghan was paying for it. The auction continued into the afternoon. Many people had already made their moves. Ling Chen bought a rank 4 ultimate treasure elixir. Wang Shizhi bought a set of sword manuals that cost more than 100,000 mid-grade crystals. Lu Ning didn't seem to be interested in other things. She was focused on waiting for the ancient dragon bone to appear. Yi Lingyu came but did not manage to buy anything. He was a little dissatisfied and did not leave. However, his gaze kept wandering around the 7th private room. Yi Qinghan noticed Yi Lingyu's gaze and sighed inwardly. This is troublesome. This little guy still hasn't given up on the demon dragon saber. The auction continued, but the great expert at the back of the auction house was looking at a brocade box with an ominous glint in his eyes. He was extremely furious. My auction house has been around for 1,000 years and has never been so humiliated. He even caused the 5th grade auctioneer, Fairy Huang, to lose face. Today, this matter must be thoroughly investigated. He was a life palace warrior in the auction house. He looked like he was in his 40s, but his aura was restrained. He was like a volcano that was about to erupt. Once he did, he could destroy the world. His name was Xianyuanyu and he was at the 3rd step of the Fate Palace realm. He was one of the most powerful beings on the Owlfall star. He was only about 300 years old and he was 1 generation younger than Lu Patian and the others. He was considered a genius of his generation and he had the potential to become a Dao master. Master Xianyuan, did the culprit deliberately leave this pile of bird poop and fruit core to provoke our auction house? The deacon of the Flaming Cloud City auction house frowned as he stared at the bird poop. However, he could not tell what kind of creature produced it. Whether it is or not, I can find the culprit. Xianyuanyu smiled coldly. Inform the headquarters to send the blood leopard condor here. Its nose can smell the bird poop. Follow the smell and find the culprit. In Huafei's yard, the parrot had shrunk into a white ball. It was shining brightly and its body was crystal clear. Its vigorous qi and blood emitted a faint pressure that was getting stronger and stronger. This feels so good. I'm going to evolve. My bloodline is awakening. I'm an ancient mythical beast, the devouring spirit parrot. I'll return to my peak and create glory again. The parrot twitched all over and allowed the bloodline power to transform its body. A large amount of unused spiritual energy was quickly absorbed and its bloated body began to shrink. Once again, it returned to its slender form. However, its body was emitting rich spiritual qi like a 5th grade spiritual medicine. As time went by, the parrot's qi became more and more sacred. Its spiritual qi was extremely rich and its wretched qi became holy. Its big eyes were like vast stars that could steal people's souls. At this moment, it did not know that the auction house had already launched an investigation and was determined to catch the culprit. Gurgle, the blood filled with spiritual qi was comparable to a 4th grade or even 5th grade spiritual liquid. It was very tempting. Perhaps its blood had the ability to break the limit of the Fate Palace realm. It could turn something rotten into something magical and reignite one's qi and blood. The parrot began to devour the spiritual fruits in its yin and yang ring. These were all taken from the Hua family. At this moment it was as if these spiritual fruits were worthless. One bite after another, it absorbed the spiritual chi within. The pit of the spiritual fruits filled the entire room. The parrot's control of spiritual energy seemed to be more precise than Yiqinghan's. As it transformed its body, it evolved its bloodline. Its strength continued to rise and so did its realm. After half an hour, it was equivalent to a 9-star expert of the Bitter Sea realm. It was even more powerful than Yiqinghan. I'll break this damn taboo of spiritual beasts and become a supreme overlord. I'll unify the demon god realm. Ha ha ha. The parrot was smug. Even if its bloodline had evolved, it could not hide its unparalleled wretchedness. At the auction, Huang Xiaoming finally found her groove. She slowly forgot about the demon god fruit incident and prepared to auction off the last few real treasures. The next treasure is the spine of an ancient creature. Rumor has it that it's the bone of an 8th-grade mythical beast, the Azure Dragon. Whether it's true or not, I can't tell. However, I can tell you that this bone is definitely the bone of a 5th-grade mythical beast or above. Huang Xiaoming signaled the person behind her to take out a 1-meter-long jade box. It emitted a purple glow and was full of vitality. Yiqinghan instantly sat up straight and looked down at the hull. He stared at the brocade box made of jade. His blood boiled as if he could feel the ancient Azure Dragon's bloodline and pressure. The bone of an ancient mythical beast, even if it was only a 6th-grade one, was extremely powerful. It was definitely a treasure for the body refining school. This 1-meter-long bone could be used to refine an arm, making the arm comparable to a 5th-grade or even 6th-grade combat weapon. Wherever it went, everything would be swept away. Lu Ning's emotions began to stir. She thought to herself, it seems that the information is true. If I can buy this bone, I can refine my body. This is my flaw. Once it's fixed, I'll be in the top 100 among the 1,000 kings of the Owl Dragon region. In the entire Owl Dragon region, among the 1,000 kings, the top 100 could definitely fight across realms. A Bitter Sea realm cultivator could fight a Grotto Heaven realm cultivator. A Grotto Heaven realm cultivator at the first step could defeat a Grotto Heaven realm cultivator at the 4th step. Ling Chen and Wang Shizhi were only at the bottom of the kings. Without opportunities, the Dao Master realm was the top and could not advance. Yi Lingyu's eyes were like stars. He tore off his bamboo hat and his handsome face was like jade. His whole body was filled with a domineering and fierce aura. He had transformed into a peerless ferocious sword. What? You also want the ancient Azure Dragon bone? Lu Ning frowned and asked. Of course. I'm determined to get it. At most, I'll sell my martial arts. The accumulation of these years is enough for me to get this bone. Yi Lingyu said coldly. Humph, let's wait and see. Lu Ning's aura changed. Her icy aura kept people thousands of miles away. However, Yi Lingyu did not move at all and did not care at all. Shen Yuanyu, who was at the back of the auction house, came out personally. He used the supreme power of true origin to run through his body. His palm exerted force and moved the jade lid. An ancient aura instantly covered the auction house. The golden bone was filled with the ancient Tao and contained the power of the universe. The aura was so strong that the Bitter Sea realm experts in front coughed up blood and flew backward. Just a glance at it made them feel that their blood was surging and about to explode. The speed of their heartbeats was unbearable. This bone had existed for at least 3,000 years. The golden bone was still flowing with the aura of jewels and treasure. Purple gas was entwined around it and it contained a rich essence of life. Yiqinghan stood up with a bang. His eyes turned into a sharp lightning that traversed time and space and fixed on the bone. It was about half a meter long and as thick as an adult's arm. It was rich with the power of a dragon and its majesty was overwhelming. It was as if an ancient Tao master had descended. This is the spine of an adult boundless flood dragon. It has 2,000 years of cultivation and is at least of the 6th rank. It actually appeared on Owl Falls Star and there is only half of it. How strange. Yi Qinghan quickly identified the origin of the bone and was puzzled. The boundless flood dragon was the descendant of the ancient azure dragon. The ancient azure dragon and the flood dragon that wanted to evolve into a dragon gave birth to a creature with a supreme bloodline. At birth, it was classified as a 6th-rank demon beast and could evolve on its own. It was extremely powerful. Once it reached adulthood, its cultivation would be close to the immortal gate realm and far surpass the human great revered martial artists. Xian Yuanyu clenched his teeth and his hands trembled. He tried to suppress the fear in his heart. Once again, he put the boundless flood dragon's bone into the jade brocade box. After quickly sealing it, he took deep breaths and his back was drenched in sweat. The others looked at each other. This bone was frightening to look at from afar. Even the Fate Palace realm experts were trembling with fear. Who would buy it? What could they do with it? The Fate Palace realm experts gave up immediately. However, the Regal realm experts were excited, including Ling Chen and Wang Shizhi. Their eyes flashed and they wanted to bid. Yi Qinghan sneered. Even if the price was 10 million spiritual crystals today, no one else would be able to get the ancient azure dragon's bone. The starting price is 2 million spiritual crystals. Each increment must be no less than 100,000 spiritual crystals. Huang Xiaoming scanned the crowd and realized that most of them were not prepared to bid. Her heart sank. Since Lu Ning did not make the first bid, Yi Lingyu naturally did not either. He was waiting for the end. If no one made a bid, the two of them would definitely find someone else to bid and split the ancient azure dragon's bone equally. There was no need to fight. Ling Chen swallowed his saliva. The starting price was 2 million spiritual crystals. That was all of his wealth. This was the reward and fortune he received from the regal battle. Was he going to use all of it to buy the ancient azure dragon's bone? Hearing the price, Wang Shizhi smiled bitterly. He could only give up. The Wang family would not go bankrupt to buy this treasure for him. The hall was silent for a long time. Still, no one made a bid. Huang Xiaoming frowned. Yi Qinghan came to the window and looked at the jade brocade box. He said calmly, "Since no one is bidding, I'll throw a brick to attract the jade. I'll bid 4 million spiritual crystals." The low voice made everyone break out in cold sweat. They looked at private room number 7 and were shocked by Yi Qinghan's generosity. Chapter 95. Do you know him? Where did this rich guy come from? Lu Ning asked with a frown. I don't know him. He's a stranger. He's only 2 stars of the Bitter Sea realm. He's not an emperor, Yi Lingyu said with certainty. Do you still want to compete? Lu Ning wasn't willing to give up. She had come aggressively and was determined to obtain the ancient dragon bone, but she had been stunned by Yi Qinghan's heroic spirit. She didn't even have the confidence to bid anymore. Why should we compete? Treasures belong to those who are fated. If he can buy it, he must have the ability to keep it. We don't have to compete with him in terms of crystals. We can just snatch it. Yi Lingyu smiled coldly. Murderous intent rushed out of his body, intimidating those in the Fate Palace realm. I feel that he's very strange. He seems to have some relationship with me. Even if he snatched my treasures twice, I can't feel any hostility towards him. Are you sure you don't know him? Lu Ning frowned. She felt that part of her memory was missing. She tried hard to recall but could not remember who Yi Qinghan was. Yi Lingyu looked through the window and carefully stared at Yi Qinghan's side profile. His heart shook and his fingertips trembled. He knocked on the railing and cried out, his temperament is like his. Yi Qinghan used his divine sense to explore the 4th floor. He was careful not to be discovered by Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning. However, he heard their discussion and frowned. After obtaining the devil dragon saber and the ancient dragon bone, the first thing he had to do was increase his strength and refine his body. He had to raise his realm to 5 stars of the Bitter Sea realm, cross the Heart Demon Sea, and watch the evolution of chaos. Otherwise, he would not be able to fight against these emperors. Especially Yi Lingyu, who had received his guidance and was invincible in the way of the saber. Huang Xiaomeng glanced at Private Room 7. She was still angry at Yi Qinghan and said in a muffled voice, "Is there a higher price?" This was an ancient dragon bone that was above the 6th grade. The best equipment for forging weapons can be sold for at least 7 million in Xiaolong region. Huang Xiaomeng was obviously trying to cause trouble for Yi Qinghan, so she deliberately revealed the true value. Yi Qinghan's eyes were like torches as he looked at Huang Xiaomeng's unreasonable behavior. His breath sank, and a sharp sword shot out from his eyes, drilling into her eyes. Huang Xiaomeng shuddered, feeling as if she had fallen into an ice cave. She could not help but think to herself, this guy is only at the 2 stars of the Bitter Sea realm, but I am at the Grotto Heaven realm. He can actually make me feel fear. His soul is so strong. Under Huang Xiaomeng's instigation, there was a commotion in the auction, but no one was willing to bid any higher because they had no use for this item. Putting aside the fact that they did not have enough spirit crystals, even if they did, what use would it be to buy it? 4 million going twice. Is there anyone who wants to bid higher? Huang Xiaomeng avoided Yi Qinghan's gaze and looked up at the 4th floor. She realized that Lu Ning and Yi Qinghan had no intention of increasing the price. She knew that the ancient dragon bone could not be auctioned for a better price. 4 million going thrice, sold. The ancient dragon bone goes to Private Room 7. Huang Xiaomeng did not dare to continue provoking Yi Qinghan, so she made the final decision. Yi Qinghan had obtained 2 of his favorite treasures. He sat down contentedly and waited for Huang Xiaomeng to deliver the ancient dragon bone. Sure enough, Huang Xiaomeng personally came over with the jade brocade box. She threw the box in front of Yi Qinghan angrily. "Here, take it and give me the spirit crystals." Yi Qinghan was speechless at the anger of such a little woman. Huang Xiaomeng was already a few decades old. Although to cultivators, she was like a teenager among mortals, she could not throw a tantrum like this. After all, she was a 5th-grade auctioneer. "Take it, thanks a lot." Yi Qinghan kept the jade brocade box and threw out 4 Qianquan rings, each filled with 1 million mid-grade spirit crystals. "You're welcome. Idiot." Huang Xiaomeng glared fiercely at Yi Qinghan, took the Qianquan rings and turned to leave. Yi Qinghan, Lu Outyan laughed loudly. To be able to see Huang Xiaomeng like this trip was not in vain. "Silly brother, are you treating me to supper tonight? If you're not free, why don't you give me 10,000 mid-grade spirit crystals? I can go eat by myself." Jian Chenxue joked. Yi Qinghan calculated carefully. He had less than 1.5 million mid-grade spirit crystals left. It was enough to support him until he reached the 5th star of the Bitter Sea stage. Just as Yi Qinghan was relaxing, his soul suddenly shook, as if he had been enlightened. The qi and blood in his body boiled and his vital essence roared, wanting to rush out of his body. His long hair and clothes fluttered without wind. What's going on? How did my soul and vital essence suddenly strengthen so much? Yi Qinghan was shocked. He tried to suppress the boiling blood and recall his vital essence, but he found that his realm was also changing, completely unconsciously rising. Boom! Yi Qinghan felt that the blood in his body was like the yellow river bursting its banks, wanting to break through the sky. In the blink of an eye, his realm had rushed into the 3rd star of the Bitter Sea stage, and it was still growing. Lu Outyan looked at Yi Qinghan exuding a majestic aura and quickly closed the doors and windows, sealing the private room. Yi Qinghan suddenly felt that his and the parrot's perception had strengthened a lot. Even though they were a few miles apart, he could feel that the parrot was transforming. Did the evolution of the parrot's bloodline make me transform? Yi Qinghan was shocked. He finally found the reason why his realm was soaring. Middle third star of the bitter sea stage. Peak. Hua, his vital essence was invincible. His soul pierced through the shackles and broke through the bottleneck. Immediately, his vital essence turned into a dragon, running through his body and swimming through his limbs and bones. His strength instantly increased by several times. Lu Outyan and Jian Qinxue looked at Yi Qinghan as if they were looking at a god. This kind of breakthrough was too strange. The breakthrough was inexplicable and too fast. In just half an incense stick's time, he broke through 2 bottlenecks. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. He did not expect that he would break through this time because of the parrot. However, the growth of his own cultivation did not shock him too much. He was shocked by the parrot's current strength. He could clearly feel that it had transformed by more than one level. How old was the demonic god fruit that cheap bird ate? How did it become so strong all of a sudden? Yi Qinghan frowned. He felt that the auction house would not let it go so easily. Yi Qinghan sat on pins and needles. He wanted to leave as soon as possible, but at this time, he would have to face Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu. This was not what he wanted. Is there a separate passage to leave this room? Yi Qinghan frowned and asked. There is a special passage. It is set up for some people who do not want to reveal their identity. However, they need to apply to the auction house and pay 100 mid-grade spirit crystals. Lu Outyan said seriously. Help me apply, I want to leave this place. Yi Qinghan said hurriedly. Lu Outyan saw that Yi Qinghan was in such a hurry, he nodded and walked out. Soon, Lu Outyan brought a Grotto Realm expert. The Grotto Realm expert received the 100 mid-grade spirit crystals and quickly opened a secret compartment. A deep and dark tunnel appeared in the wall. Where does this tunnel lead to? Yi Qinghan was very vigilant and asked in a deep voice. It leads outside the city to the maple forest. The Grotto Realm expert glanced at Yi Qinghan and could not help but be surprised. He did not expect that the person who was so generous was actually a 17 or 18-year-old youth. Son, let's go. Yi Qinghan casually threw 100,000 mid-grade spirit crystals to Yi Mengxi and let her play as she pleased. Then, he led Qin Shihuang into the tunnel. The Grotto Realm expert sealed the tunnel and quickly left the room. Yi Lingyu's eyes flashed as he sensed that an aura was missing from the 7th private room. He lowered his head and said to Lu Ning, the owner of the 7th private room has left through the tunnel. Go ask the auction house where the tunnel leads to. I will wait for you outside. Yi Lingyu could only sense Yi Qinghan's aura. Qin Shihuang was sitting in the room. Even Yi Qinghan's soul might not be able to sense him. Previously, he had evaded Yi Qinghan's divine sense. Therefore, Yi Lingyu could not sense Qin Shihuang's aura at all. After Yi Lingyu finished speaking, he put on his bamboo hat and left the auction house. He was not interested in the final treasures. Lu Ning hesitated for a moment. In the end, her greed overcame her vague premonition. She was determined to obtain the azure dragon bone. After a while, Lu Ning arrived outside the auction house and met up with Yi Lingyu. She said in a serious voice, the tunnel is in the maple forest outside the city. Let's go. Yi Qinghan had a strong sense of danger. He carried Qin Shihuang and sprinted all the way. He even used the divine dragon steps. Their figures moved like stars, leaving behind afterimages in the tunnel. Even Qin Shihuang was carried into the air. Half an hour later, Yi Qinghan appeared in the maple forest with Qin Shihuang. However, he discovered that 2 powerful auras were speeding over from Flaming Cloud City. Their figures spun and the air currents collided with each other, forming a terrifying whirlwind. Heavens might surged, as if foretelling that a great battle was coming. Dark clouds covered the sky, covering the sun. Two divine senses locked onto Yi Qinghan at the same time. Yi Qinghan snorted coldly. 5 years ago, he had personally nurtured these two little fellows. He was very familiar with them. Even if his cultivation had dropped to the 4th star of the bitter sea stage, he would not lose to them. However, Yi Qinghan did not want to fight. He hugged Qin Shi Huang, mobilized the vital energy in his body, and stomped on the ground. He leapt dozens of meters high, transforming into a sharp sword, and broke through the air. Humph. Want to leave? Not so easy. Leave behind the Azure Dragon Saber and the Azure Dragon Bone, and I will spare your life. Yi Lingyu snorted, the wings on his back suddenly spreading out. Like a great rock spreading its wings, an eagle soared into the sky. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the maple forest was blown by the wind, turning into waves. Wave after wave, they crazily surged into the depths. How could a king-level expert from Xiaolong region not have a 5th-grade flying wing? Lu Ning's toes touched the ground, leaping into the air. The pure white wings behind her were like an angel, chasing after Yi Qinghan into the distance. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan completely relied on his physical body. Using the divine dragon steps, he could crush a mountain with one step. In a flash, he had traveled thousands of meters. The forest on both sides flew backwards. The sky was covered by dark clouds, and heavy rain poured down. It was as if the sky was about to collapse. The surging heavenly might caused all beasts to die. Not even a bird could be seen. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The heavy rain soaked Yi Qinghan's clothes. Qin Shi Huang hid in Yi Qinghan's embrace, closing his eyes and spreading his divine sense in all directions. Master, there is a cliff 500 meters ahead. Below the cliff, there is a cave 30 meters deep. Qin Shi Huang quickly reminded, you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.